Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Around the Indoor Football World, where, as always, we discuss the major indoor football leagues in America, the IFL, AAL, AF1, TAL, and NAL. And we've got a little bit to talk about from every one of those leagues today. So thank you for joining us this morning, and make sure you hit that like button. But before we get into the show, we've got a little bit of metal for you. Before we get into the show, how are you gentlemen doing this morning? Let's go to Cody first this morning.
I'm doing fantastic. As an IFL Cup smoothie vendor, business is booming.
We will get into that and so much more about the IFL Cup today. We're very lucky that Krish was able to go to the games, but I won't steal his thunder. I'll let him tell his story when we get to the IFL section this morning. Krish, how are you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing good. It's good to see the boys Monday night, despite the loss, but, a great week and excited for tomorrow, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I would imagine, I don't want to speak for you, but I would imagine it's a good opportunity every time you get a chance to see the Pirates play, given that they moved this past year. So glad that you got to go see your team. Probably not the result you would have liked, but, hey, at least you got to go see them play. So, TJ, how are you doing this morning, man?
Hey man, I'm doing good, and I'm excited as well about getting to go check out the games tomorrow. So it's gonna be fun.
Absolutely, looking forward to that as well.
Guns.
Yeah, TJ showed up, not only showing off the guns, but on top of that, he told me ahead of time he has some insider information he has to share with us at some point. So, TJ, I will let you kind of dictate when you want to throw that in, but I don't even know what league it's entailing. So. We'll see when that gets thrown in, I guess. So a little bit of a nugget there for everybody.
When I'm sworn to secrecy, I respect that.
You're sworn to secrecy, except for you're gonna put it out on the show.
Oh no, I was told I could put it out on the show, but other than that, I was told to say, mum's the word. So I'm respecting that.
TJ, are you a San Antonio fan? Because guns up, brother.
He's been working out, right? He wanted. On another note, you can buy TJ Bartholomew's workout plan on Amazon. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and start off with the TAL, which is kind of interesting. A little bit of an interesting news came out of the TAL this week when we heard that the Mississippi Wolfpack would be scrimmaging the Memphis Hound Dogs in TAL rules. So this is really, it's not like a legitimate game. It's a scrimmage. That's how they're framing it for everybody. To my knowledge, and I think TJ can kind of back this up, is it's not the entire Mississippi team going down there. Obviously, they play 8-man football typically. TAL plays 7-man, so they don't really need, some of the offensive linemen and some of the players on the roster. So it'll be interesting to see this matchup. But TJ, what are your thoughts on this game and kind of that cross-league play, which we don't see all that often?
Yeah, I mean, if what I read is correct, it's for both teams, really. I mean, for the TAL, it's considered a preseason scrimmage or preseason game. For Mississippi, they're just considering it a scrimmage, so I don't believe it's going to count for the Mississippi's record or anything like that. It's literally just a fun interleague matchup. I like it personally, because we talk about it all the time. These leagues, on the surface, it may be like, oh yeah, they're probably gunning for each other. They want to do this, want to do that. They're friendly with each other behind the scenes. They all want to survive. They all want to be successful for the sport. So to come together and have an interleague game, I think it's interesting. I think it's good to get the word out, and it helps both the Mississippi Wolfpack and also, the TAL. And the more people who watch it, the more it may happen in the future. And I'm personally a fan of it.
Speaking of which, James Fisher, the general manager of the Memphis Hound Dogs, checking in. Mr. Fisher, maybe you can answer this question for us. A lot of people have asked, and I didn't know the answer per se, but can we watch this game somewhere? Will it be streamed, or this scrimmage? To clarify, this scrimmage, can we watch it somewhere? Will it be streamed? If you could answer that in the chat, that would be great. That way we could get the answer to everybody, and they'll know if they can watch it. But Cody, what are your thoughts on this interleague matchup between the two leagues?
I think it's a pretty cool thing. When we have talked about multiple issues of like, hey, why can't all these teams just get together and form their own super league? And then we have the issues of who's doing what rules, how many or whatever. So it seems like we're actually getting a scrimmage where people are putting down their guns and saying, hey, we'll do a 7-on-7. We'll do an 8-on-8. Like, they're hammering out these details and these rules. Is it going to amount to anything? No, but at the same time, a scrimmage, a preseason, whatever you want to call it, it's something that you can actually look at as kind of a precedent, not necessarily a precedent, but you get what I'm saying, where you're sitting there going, hey, we're going to have these two teams play by a certain amount of rules. They've both agreed upon it, and maybe this is something that could happen in the future. Now, fat chance, I get that, but it's really nice to see something like this go on instead of going, oh, we're not going to play in your league. Our league is better. No, you're not going to play in our league. Our league is better, blah, 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 or by our rules. So, I mean, it's nice to see them actually come together and go, hey, we're going to do it like this. You bring your players, we'll play by these rules. It's actually refreshing to see.
I agree. Krish, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, from Memphis's side, I think it's great. From Mississippi's side, it's kind of stupid, in my opinion. I mean, you lost your last 3 games by 45 or more. You should be studying a playbook or having extra practice. But instead, you just want to go play, with a team in another league. It's kind of crazy to me. But, let them do what they want to do. I mean, they're not going to win anything anyway this year, so it's cool.
So you're saying it's counterproductive to have a live scrimmage and get practice in against other bodies besides just teammates?
Well, they're playing by Arena League, right? Their style of play. So
yeah, they're playing 7 versus 7, which is, we've talked about heavily, is often used in practice. Granted, less so with 8-man football.
But they're not running their schemes or playbook or anything. So that's my only issue. Is like, why wouldn't you just use an extra practice or, like? Okay.
I mean, to be fair, that's a reasonable take. It's not like he's saying, this is a dumb idea in general. He's saying, in their particular situation, maybe it could be better served if they were spending that time on a practice. But Fisher says it was actually last night. So was it streamed somewhere? I actually did not see anything about that. In terms of where we could watch it, if it was being able to be streamed last night. So Brian says, hi, guys. He's checking in as well. Exactly. Wouldn't playing against another team be more beneficial?
And playing against St. Joe Bucks to start 1-5 was beneficial for you. Yeah, same thing. So
I do want to raise a question.
I'm on with it, man. I'm just saying.
Did they get paid for this? Because I know that sometimes you get paid just for the game that you're playing only. So did they get paid for the scrimmage, or is it just kind of a thing where they're like, hey, let's just go down there and practice?
I would guess, given the fact that it was a scrimmage, it was probably unpaid, and it was probably part of training camp for Memphis. As far as Mississippi, I'm not entirely sure exactly how their situation's working right now in terms of pay. Or if there is any, to be quite honest. So with that being said, I doubt they probably would have been paid for that situation, especially the way I saw the post worded by their head coach. I believe that it was more like the players kind of deciding to go do this than it was so much the team as a whole deciding it. Because the way the coach, Mr. Strong, worded it, it basically said some of our players have decided to go scrimmage against the Memphis Hound Dogs. So right. The way I got it is that it wasn't necessarily a team decision.
Gotcha.
And I could be wrong on that. But
so how did they go about that? Did they just sit there and be like, hey, Dave, you're the 8th man. You're the odd man out. You suck. Get out of here. We're playing 7-on-7.
Well, I think, first of all, TAL travels 18, right?
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing around.
Oh, yeah. Wait, this the coach that decided to throw the ball up 33 points with a minute left? I think it is. Okay, cool.
Are you upset, Krish? Are you upset that your team got blown out by 40 points? I mean, we could talk about that first if you like.
No, I don't want to talk about it first. He decided to do that against us, but didn't do it against New Mexico or Jacksonville. So that shows how much respect he has for the Pirates. Throwing the ball up for 33 points.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
Even though it's fourth down, he should have, but I understand that he was trying to go for 70. So I can't, get too mad about it. But I'm still salty.
Okay, so Brian says Iowa, Nebraska, Memphis didn't stream any of the preseason games that I could find. It was not streamed. Wolfpack only had a few players, so we just had a fun practice. Okay, cool. Also, they were not paid. Our players are on our salary starting next week. This is part of camp. That's what I assumed. Okay. So there you go. Some clarification on that. It was not streamed. That's too bad. It would have been really fun to see that overall, just to kind of see how the other players adapted and stuff like that. I thought it was very interesting to see that all come together. But any other TAL subjects you guys wanted to talk about? I did not catch. I know Iowa played like the. Let me back up. Let me find the post.
The Twin City something.
Twin City. Was it the? Never mind. Let me just look it up before I misspeak.
Well, we know it wasn't the Pirates because they would have hung 73 on them.
I didn't say a thing, Krish. That was not me. Twin City Tundra. Twin City Tundra. The Iowa Woo ended up finishing out their game 57-0 against the Twin City Tundra. Again, this is obviously a semi-professional team that they're playing for a preseason game. Any thoughts on that game?
I mean, if what they're saying is you couldn't stream it or anything, then we couldn't really watch it. So,
isn't there this league called the NFL where teams scrimmage against each other during training camp?
Yeah, isn't there a league where teams scrimmage against each other that are at the same level too? Right? Like that's the thing. I don't know why this is an argument. Like it's crazy, but
and that's the thing, Krish, is like I don't think they're viewing themselves as necessarily different levels. It's different leagues in this particular case. That doesn't necessarily mean that one's better than the other. Or
I would Mr. Beck when we need him the most, man. I need him in the comments because this is there's two different styles of play. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if you can compare the levels.
But it was a scrimmage. Like I don't really understand why it's that concerning.
See, I get where Krish is coming from to the extent because it is two different styles of play. We're talking 7-on-7 where there's like one offensive lineman to snap the ball compared to 8v8 where there's one or two high motion men. Like I get where he's coming from, but I also see Sam's point to the credit of like all these players just kind of cycle through all of these leagues, so the talent is kind of the same. So I see both points to what you guys are saying when it comes to that. Because again, how many players from the TAL are going to go to the NAL, IFL, AF1, whatever the case could be? They all kind of cycle through that stuff. But again, like to Krish's point, it is two different sets of rules. And that's something that people have talked about the entire time is, can we all just agree on a certain set of rules? Well, we're kind of seeing that a little bit here. So maybe that's something that comes to fruition in the future. I have no idea. Maybe I think Adam had a comment where it's like, maybe that's Mississippi putting out feelers to the TAL. We don't know. Probably not. And again, we're just talking about an exhibition preseason thing that has little to no bearing on anything.
So here's the comment you were mentioning. Is Mississippi feeling out TAL rules for the possible league jump? Probably not. Just a far-fetched possibility. I don't believe it's anything like that. As mentioned before, it was a scrimmage, and on top of that, it wasn't all the players. In fact, I'm not even sure if Coach Strong was there, and maybe Coach Mr. Fisher can answer that as well. But I see your point, Krish. It's professional football, so you don't necessarily want people to not have that confidence, but at the same time, like I don't think this is necessarily like a levels conversation when we're talking about a scrimmage. I mean, we play preseason games against semi-pro teams and blow them out 57-0, and that's considered important reps for teams. So I don't know. Speaking of,
I don't think that semi-pro teams should play pro teams. I've been saying that for a long time because I just feel like it's a waste of time. I would rather, I look at the NAL and you have teams still making fundamental mistakes. Why not work on those for an extra week? Then, like play a semi-pro team. That means nothing. That's why the indoor football league or even the AF1 this year, they don't have to like scrimmage semi-pro teams. So that's just me.
So Coach Strong was not in attendance. It was just players going down there to scrimmage. So that kind of kills any thought process of a potential move for leagues. But we're gonna go ahead and transition over to the AAL. I mean, we're not gonna really talk about much. Just kind of want to throw out there the AAL is kind of on a league imposed bye week for the holiday weekend, which I think is kind of smart on their part. I think a lot of people are probably going to be out doing stuff with their family, focusing on other things other than football, and maybe this is probably a good week to take off. So it'll be interesting to kind of see, how things rebound after the bye week. But the one team with that being an exception for is Wheeling. Wheeling put out a statement over the past couple of days about their game being postponed due in part to playoff hockey. I was told that the Wheeling Nailers have made it deeper in the playoffs this season than they have in, I believe it was 8 years or possibly 18 years. Let me look back at my messages, but I believe they haven't made it this deep in the playoffs in 18 years, and they haven't made the playoffs in general in 8 years, if I remember correctly. And it's really kind of affecting Wheeling in terms of their scheduling because they're supposed to play on Saturday night, and hockey's taking the priority, and it's kind of pushing their games and making them reschedule, or in some cases completely cancel the games because there's not an option to reschedule. So the situation with the Nailers is kind of proving to be difficult for the Miners, and they may have to make some alternate arrangements to finish out some of these games that they're not getting in currently in the season. So one of the more difficult factors when you are an indoor football team, you have some competition for those venues. So any thoughts on that, Krish?
I'm not even too mad about it, honestly. I understand it completely. The only thing I would like to see from Wheeling is them beef up their attendance a little bit. I mean, the Ohio Valley area is a prime market for indoor football, in my opinion. Like, that's a market that I feel like the indoor football league could exploit, at some point in time. So, and then if they were to bring an indoor football league team to the Ohio Valley, they would do it in partnership with the ECHL, the Nailers, as you mentioned. So, I just, it's part of it. But, yeah, I think just give the Wheeling extra time to kind of focus on attendance. But also they have a new GM in Wheeling too. They just hired him 2 months ago, right? So he's still getting a feel on how the business kind of operates and everything. So it's an uphill battle for them, for sure. It's also crazy that they lost their best player, Dante Mason, to Albany last night. So that's a huge loss for them.
We might do the AF1 section first today because I've got some interesting observations about Albany and their player acquisition recently. It's been interesting, Krish, and I have a feeling you and I are on the same page there. So I wanted to read the statement by Wheeling. The Wheeling Miners organization would like to provide an important update regarding this week's scheduled game. Due to a scheduling adjustment at West Banco Arena to accommodate the Wheeling Nailers Game 6, our originally scheduled May 16th contest was moved to Friday, May 15th. Following this change, our opponent for that game, the Michigan Raptors, were unfortunately unable to travel due to the revised date. Keep in mind that's a developmental team. A lot of those guys have to plan ahead of time to take days off work in order to make the trip and stuff like that. The organization explored alternative options and worked diligently to secure a replacement opponent, including adjusting schedules with previously planned matchups. Despite these efforts, we were unable to finalize an opponent for this weekend, the 23rd. As a result, the Wheeling Miners will be rescheduling this week's game to a later date. We are actively coordinating to confirm a new date, and we'll share that information as soon as it is finalized. All tickets purchased for this weekend's game will be honored for the rescheduled date. We appreciate the understanding, flexibility, continued support from our partners and our fans. So tough situation, but unfortunately, like we said, it's part of the business, right? So It's just something you have to deal with. And Krish, honestly, great point there. Newer GM trying to build up the attendance, and I'm sure rescheduling games and having to cancel games is not helping his case so far. But I wanted to read this statement because I think that this would be interesting to see someone come over and play Columbus, from another league or something like that. And, I think Columbus is one of the unique teams with a coaching staff that is familiar with both styles of play, both the indoor and arena rules. So it would be very interesting to see, Columbus play against some other teams in the IFL, the AF1, the NAL, whatever.
Columbus would be a playoff team in the AF1.
In the what?
In the AF1. They would 100% be a playoff team. 100%.
I think I agree. Yeah. After seeing what happened to Minnesota, which we will get to, I'm pretty sure that Roger and Columbus would make it work. Ben, what exactly do you mean by this comment? You can only do so much when it comes to the hockey playoff situation. So, Roger mentions it right here. We had to move 2 games because of hockey playoffs. So, you can only do so much. But any other thoughts on AAL or anything on that front?
One player doesn't make or break a team. I've been preaching that for a while, right? I think, one player can help elevate a unit, but not get it to where it needs to get to. But Dante Mason, what he brings leadership wise, right? Losing him, I think Wheeling is about to go down. So I think this solidifies Columbus winning the championship this year, in my opinion.
We shall see. Ben's airing some things. Well, forcing us to go to New Jersey. Crazy. But I'm going to keep that to myself. Maybe not so much.
As he shares it.
Yeah, exactly. No, we aren't. And then Quentin Humphrey checking in, the owner of the Texas Wild Hogs. Speaking of which, your merch is looking pretty dope there, Mr. Humphrey. So love seeing that out there. Hopefully we figure out where you're going to play in 2027 very, very soon. Very excited to see what ends up happening with that news. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to transition over to the AF1. We got a couple different topics in the AF1 this week, including some very spicy comments from a head coach's wife, who I, for one, am 100% behind. So let's get to that and much more. So stick with us. There's still a lot to talk about today. We do have a guest coming on later on to talk about his experience in Wheeling. So stay tuned for that as well. We'll definitely have him on later. So we're very excited to get him back on. And we will be right back after the break.
Omaha Beef football, prime dancers, rump roasters, slaughterhouse. Are you ready? DJ next one. You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the slaughterhouse where we run it. Yeah, we really want it. Beef Nation got them shaking, got a ring and we flown it. Prime dancers be on it. I bet the competition's no opposition. We come to take and we done it. Ricky is the chief saying, let's go Beef. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the slaughterhouse. Orange and black. About to win this. Defense stays on attack. You on our hit list. Spiking, blocking, and dumping, jumping out the gymnasium. You want to see the best leaders at the Beef Stadium. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Let's go, Beef. Orange Kingdom. Slaughterhouse. Orange Kingdom. Prime dancers. Orange Kingdom.
three, four times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
All right, we're back, and I felt it was very appropriate to play that commercial before our next guest, Alex Coleman, wide receiver for the Wheeling Miners, joins us. Alex, it's been a little while, my friend. How are you doing this morning?
What's up, man? I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
Awesome. So you wanted to join us to kind of talk about your upcoming game against Jersey, as well as kind of how the season's progressed so far for you guys. And I mean, I wanted to start off. Obviously, you probably heard us talking about it a moment ago, the situation with the hockey and the Wheeling Nailers. I mean, from your perspective as a player for the Miners, how do you deal with that situation from your perspective? I know it's got to be tough to prepare for a game, and then, stuff has to get moved around because of the hockey and stuff like that. So kind of give us your perspective on all that.
I mean, we always want to be supportive of the Nailers. They take priority in Wheeling right now. They've been around longer, so we understand it. And also being with the season starting so late, we're running into more issues in terms of scheduling issues with them. So when it comes to preparing, I mean, we kind of just cross the bridges when we get there. We've never had it to this extent where there's been so many games impacted. So we kind of just play it by ear, you know what I mean? But I think the most frustrating thing about, being in the AAL versus being in the NAL, there was more teams, last year. But you see kind of certain situations with guys that have manipulated this league for so long, and now they're trying to use their same tricks, like the stuff going on with Jersey. Like, they're trying to finesse their way into getting a home game, right? But you don't get a home game. If you don't want to come play us in Wheeling, just say that. But there's open opportunities for them to come. They're just trying to make excuses on why they shouldn't, and the league itself is not really pressing them to make sure that they fulfill their obligation to show up. They're trying to get a forfeit out of us and stuff like that. And I think as a player and even a coach, where's your competitive spirit? Like, you want to use the rules to get a forfeit. I don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? We fulfilled all our obligations in travel, and if there's an open date that we have at the arena, they should show up. They should make them show up. You know what I mean? But I feel like it's a team that knows they can't beat us, so you want to use a loophole to try to get a win. I don't understand that. Especially from someone that's supposed to represent our league so well. You can't, because the product that you put out isn't good for the league. Nobody wants to play you on a soccer field with glass around the field. That's not even arena football. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to putting a good product on the field, you should want to play in one of the two substantial arenas, which is ours and Columbus's. If it's about your players, the better film would be for our field or Columbus's field, not looking through glass windows trying to figure out what's going on. There's no lines on the field. You know what I mean? So that's the frustrating thing. It's guys that they say they care about the product of the league, but you're doing things that serve you, not that serve the league. You know what I mean? That's what bothers me. Like, you're not getting in the championship game, bro, because you're not one of the two best teams. No matter how you try to finesse it, you're not getting in that game. And I just think that's like the frustrating part about this league right now. Is like, do you care about the product of the game, or do you care about your little team? You know what I mean? That's what's frustrating me.
Fair. I mean, that's definitely, you're allowed to have your perspective for sure. I'm not gonna comment too much on that. But yeah, I mean, I guess moving on, you obviously mentioned it. You guys got a game coming up against Jersey here. You guys seem very motivated in that game. Obviously, it seems like there's some dispute about some of the moves to make this game happen. So kind of talk to us a little bit about the extra heat going in this game, I guess.
I mean, it's definitely motivation, because it's like, yo, if you don't want to come play us, just say that. I mean, y'all got to have open tryouts during a week for what? You need more people? You know what I mean? Like, it's just whack to me. Like, bruh, we'll make sure there's a date that you can get into, that we can get into the bank so you can play us. Just show up. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Just show up. Don't make an excuse on why you can't come this, that, and the third. Just show up. I feel like in the NAL, we played 2 games in 1 week. We didn't complain. You know what I mean? Like I think we played Colorado on a Monday, and then had to turn around and play Carolina on a Saturday. And we just showed up.
It's a fair point. I mean, tough situations happen for sure. Definitely seems like there's been a significant amount of them this year, specifically with the Wheeling situation right now. Okay. Never mind. Sorry, I was trying to catch up with the comments there for Caleb. I was trying to figure out what he was trying to say. But any other thoughts on this game or the season so far?
I mean, the season's going well. You know, I really like the product we put out in the field with Columbus. We put on a really good showing for the fans. You know, they seen 2 good teams battle. And it was a clean game. You know what I mean? It wasn't any cheap stuff here and there. Mississippi, same. You know, they're doing the best they can with their situation. You know what I mean? But that's really it. Like the first 4 weeks, I feel like went smooth. The Nailers thing is a hiccup, but their season, you know, whether they go all the way or they don't, it won't be an issue all season. So I think it's just one of those things, those bridges you cross when you get there right now. Like we just have to roll with the punches. But that's something you deal with when you play in a real arena. If you're playing on a soccer field with glass around it, nobody's there anyway. So I mean, their availability is probably open because it's not a real field. You know what I mean? But it's differences with pros and guys that aren't, you know what I mean, that understand that when you play in real arenas, you have some other things that's going on. So we'll deal with it when they cross that bridge. But if they come, just show up. That's all I'm saying. We just want them to show up. Don't make no excuse. You belong here on this level and all of these things. Just show up. If not, you should have been in AL too.
Fair point. AJ is apparently hearing what's being said, so he's checking in. And yeah, spicy takes, my friend. I was not prepared for this morning. I'll be honest. I did not realize this is the direction this conversation was going to go. But you know, I mean, like I said, you're completely entitled to have your feelings and your perspective on the situation, and that's part of what this platform is here for, to voice your opinions. So we definitely appreciate you coming on and giving your opinions on the situations, because I mean, I can imagine it's frustrating at times, for sure, from a player's perspective. So
I mean, for sure, like we had to change a game, right? Play an opponent that we weren't supposed to play until this week. You know what I mean? Why they didn't show up, I'm not sure. There's just so many other questions on why we couldn't get a filler for the game, but that's not my job. You know what I mean? I don't really get into all of that. I just feel like with this upcoming game, you know, we look forward to playing our opponents. We're respectful when we do that. You know what I mean? Regardless of how teams come at us, we just want guys to show up and play the game. You know what I mean? Not loophole their way into having an opportunity to have a better situation. I don't really get that.
I'm like I said, I'm not completely privy to all the information, so I will kind of just let the league entities work that one out. It seems like there's a lot of comments going on in the chat trying to figure that out between themselves. So like I said, I'll kind of leave that to the teams. But any other thoughts for the rest of the season? Like you said, I mean, the Nailers thing kind of seems like a hiccup in the road. Hopefully we can kind of get past this and move forward and not have these issues the rest of the way. Anything else you want to speak on? Let's transition a little bit. How's the transition to Chris McKinney been for you guys?
It's been solid, man. Like Coach Mack is one of the best football minds I've met, you know, throughout my career and things like that. Like he knows everything from the perspective of offense and defense. He not only played it, he coached as a coordinator on both sides. There's nothing he hasn't seen or doesn't know. The guys have gravitated towards him. Between him and Coach Mott, you know, they're two of the best player coaches you can have. So, I mean, it's been great, man.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I actually wasn't sure if Mott was going to stick around with Chris McKinney coming in, so I'm glad that he did decide to make the move and stick around. So, I mean, talk to us a little bit about that matchup with Columbus. I mean, obviously, you said it was a pretty clean game. You guys both played pretty well. It looks like on the surface that you guys will probably be meeting again at some point this season. So, what do you look to improve upon coming out of that first game?
Honestly, if we cleaned up our operation on special teams, we probably win the game. We end up losing by 2. I think we missed 5 extra points. You know what I mean? But I mean, it was just a good battle between both teams. You know what I mean? For me, it's always kind of mixed feelings, being there. A lot of my friends are there. My brothers that I won a championship with are there. You know what I'm saying? A lot of my relations with the fans are still there. But I think it was just one of those respected battles between two teams. Like, I didn't know. I don't think they knew what to expect from us. I don't think a lot of people knew what to expect from us, being how we had a subpar season last year. And we came out and put on a good battle with them. And I think we both as professionals appreciated it. We tested them, they tested us. And we're definitely looking forward to playing them at the end of the season.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts for fans before we transition out of AAL?
Nah, man, I just appreciate y'all watching the games. It's a product going forward, man, trying to get the streams right for every team and things like that. I know our Mississippi game, I don't think it was streamed or something happened with it, but it's a process. It's some growing pains going through it, but it'll be all right.
I agree, and I'm hoping the league's trending the right direction long term, and hopefully we can get some of this stuff cleaned up as a group, and kind of move forward. But AC, we appreciate you joining us this morning as always. If you'd like to, you're more than welcome to stick around and talk about the other leagues. If you want to jump off, you're more than welcome to do that as well.
Yeah, I'll stay on talking about some.
Awesome. Cool. I think we're going to transition over to the AF1 next. So we'll hit a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. All right, we are back to discuss the AF1. Some topics have come up as of late that I think are very worth discussing, and one of which I was trying to find the graphic I had because I had previously made one about the comments that her name on Facebook is Nani Ware, Damon Ware's wife. So I'm not entirely certain if that is her actual name or if that's just a Facebook name. So please forgive me if I am mispronouncing that. But she said, "Okay, I've had enough. These groups I follow are packed with clueless people who don't have the slightest idea with your constant negativity, what your constant negativity does. Players and coaches kill themselves in field rooms, in the weight room, on the field, bleeding to bring us a game we claim to love. And all you entitled people do is tear them down from your couch. Your whining doesn't make you a fan. It makes you poison. Your pooping on people who sacrifice their bodies while you can't even sacrifice a day without complaining. So shut the F up and realize you're not keeping it real. You're just another loudmouth dragging down the people who actually love this game. We are undefeated. We just broke the record. How about we cheer to that? So I wanted to bring this to light because it's not often in a world of coach speak and pleasantries that we get anybody speaking like this about the situations that they're put through. But realistically, being a coach, being a family member of a coach or an owner or a team, a player, whatever, is not an easy situation. You know, all of these people, as she so elegantly put it, are making sacrifices for our entertainment. So I kind of wanted to go around the horn here and see if I'm the only one that feels this way. We never really discussed this. I never really asked you guys' opinions on it. I just kind of threw it in there and was like, hell yeah, I'm with her on this one. So Cody, I'm curious of your thoughts on these comments.
I don't think she said the word pooping. You didn't read that verbatim.
Guilty. I did not read that verbatim.
You're paraphrasing this, buddy. You need to read it exactly how she wrote it.
I may or may not have left out a few curse words because this is a family show, and I'm trying not to get us age restricted.
Yeah, Krish, Jesus. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I'm kind of in agreement too, man. I mean, there's always going to be people to air grievances. There's always going to be people. It doesn't matter if it's NFL, AFL, AF1, CFL, Indian cricket. There's going to be people that air grievances and go different ways with how they want their team to go, how they want their players, their coaches, and everything like that. So she's entitled to her own opinion. I kind of side with it a little bit, but at the same time, again, you've got to hear both sides when it comes to everything. And the truth is always just kind of somewhere in that gray middle area.
Agreed. TJ, you're a former coach, so I'm curious, like, how do you feel about these comments and all of that?
First off, I want to say, man, oh man, is she a football wife? I loved it. That was awesome to see. She's not wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, we all know it. Every sport has it. Every league has it. You know, you have that really great team. You know, in Albany's case, they have not lost a game in AF1 play yet since inception and rebrand of the league. So, like, what is there to really complain about? You got to nitpick. Haters are gonna hate. And Albany clear cut the best team in the league. They won the chip last year. They went undefeated. They're undefeated again this year. They won a close game. That's something to nitpick on because, oh, well, you should have won by double digits. I mean, yeah, do I kind of hate them? Absolutely, because I know that when Kentucky went up against them, they got smacked, and I'm a Kentucky fan. But at the end of the day, you got to respect what Albany's doing, what Damon Ware's doing, what everyone's doing up there player wise. Everything, even without Castronova for part of the season. I mean, they just kept chugging along. It's impressive to see. I think you should appreciate it because it's great football. It's a great culture there, and you don't always see that. Obviously, we see a lot of shaky teams and everything else, but Albany, they're consistent both on and off the field. So I think you should celebrate it instead of nitpick it. I agree with what you said.
Krish, what are your thoughts? You're a spicy guy, so I have a feeling that you support these comments.
I do. I think, a lot of people realize, a lot of people think sometimes if you don't play or coach, you're not part of the family of a team, right? But like if you're married to the head coach, you're married into the family of the team. And so she's part of the team, as much as anyone is. So she has an opinion to express how she feels, and I think she's right. A lot of people, sit back and criticize everything. I get defensive with my guys, when people go online and talk shit because they don't know the human beings they are. And if you're sacrificing so much and it shows on the field, they're undefeated. If they lose and she wrote that, I would understand why people would be upset. But that's totally accurate. Totally. I agree. For sure.
I did as well. And the main thing that stuck out to me is, I mean, there's a lot of different teams like that fans can have complaints for, right? They may not have as polished of a product as Albany. They may not have a team that has lost what one game in the last 3 seasons and been to multiple championships over their life. It's just crazy to me that there are some complaints coming for Albany in general when they're still undefeated. They continue to beat every opponent that comes into their arena or wherever they may go. So I thought it was cool to see her kind of just be like, look, like, you guys need to just chill, like, sit down, understand that you have a great team to appreciate, because it may not always be like this. It wasn't that long ago that in Albany they had Antonio Brown for an owner. Nobody was getting paid. Their team was gone in the middle of a season. So, I mean, it's crazy to me that we're only 3 years removed from that, and Albany fans are still finding something to complain about when, again, their team they've lost 1 game in 3 seasons so far. So I think that I think maybe if anybody has a pedestal to maybe make these comments, it's people involved with Albany. So I really liked the comments. I thought it was awesome to see. And like I said, in a world of coach speak and pleasantries where, we expect coaches and their families to just kind of let stuff like this roll off them, it just doesn't. It's crazy to see something like that from her. So I applaud her for saying what she did, and I hope the fans took notice of what she said, because it was important stuff to get out there, and I think it was all very valid and true. Ben says, when you're the best, people will always have stuff to say. It's what comes with it, specifically about Albany. Definitely agree on that point. A couple of things that we also wanted to talk about is there has seemed to have been a little bit of a shift in the way that Albany is bringing in some players. So we were, kind of looking over, and at first it started with, I think, Cameron Alves, right, from Omaha. And then there was a couple other players that have been signed since then that are not necessarily the players you would expect to see with the Firebirds. So, Krish, I wanted to go to you on this one first. Do you think they're kind of resetting a little bit how they acquire players for Albany?
I still haven't seen Cam Alves suspended on the transactions for the NAL. I'm waiting to see that. Because Aaron Dilworth, it happened too quick, right? But
Alves was released.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But
he was released on the 20th, just so you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's super interesting. But I think a player, no matter who they are, if they jump leagues, they should be suspended. I think that's just the way it is. But for me, like, Albany, obviously they have, Black Jerry Maguire down there. So he's going to, go and add people that he feels are best for the program. And they got a bunch of new players. I got them a receiver this week. I'm really excited about, Ajay Hall from Texas and Alabama. He's coming in. He was I believe he was a top 10 recruit coming out of high school, perfect 5-star. Really excited to see. I think he's going to fit perfectly in the culture with Albany. So excited for him. But no, they got a lot of good players, man. And Coach Ware and them, I feel like they do a good job at, adding younger players and, having them learn under the vets that they have. It's a veteran-led team. So it's a good thing.
So I was not aware this is what stemmed from the comments, but family members for kicker Willie Cavanis was even on socials complaining about him being cut after he had a great half of football after all the terrible games he kicked. So that explains a lot. I was not aware of that. Albany has Crimson Tide syndrome. Please remember to hit the like button, of course. But yeah, I mean, there's been a couple players that have been signed that I was a little surprised by. But Chris, talk to us a little bit about Hall, the player that you just mentioned that has been signed by them. You were slightly involved in that signing, possibly?
No, I'm the one that found him. So I was on Instagram one day, and I was like, man, I was thinking of, just some players, I kind of lost the hold of, that I used to follow. When a guy gets removed from a school, I like to go follow them, see where they land. I'm a big JUCO football guy. I love JUCO football. I think it's a great platform. So Ajay was someone I thought he was going to go the JUCO route. So he went to Alabama. He got in some trouble there, went to Texas, got in some trouble there, took a year off, and then signed with the University of Central Florida, got in trouble there. So then took another year off, and he ended up at Sacramento State. And I heard great things, about him from Sacramento State. So I actually, I sent his Instagram to a certain person, and that person kind of took him from there. And so, he signed. I sent it like 2 days ago. I said, I feel like this is a really good player. And so, I'm really excited for him because I think he's going to do really well. And he's NFL. He was NFL draft eligible. He doesn't have enough film though to go to that level. So he's young enough where, he's young enough. Exactly. And this is who I'm referring to. But hey, once this guy gets on the phone, man, it's a wrap for real. He's gone on the phone with him and made it happen. And I feel like when you can take younger players, I'm a huge fan of this. Jawad did this last year with Stephen McBride. Stephen McBride was fresh out of college. He signed Stephen McBride, and now Stephen McBride is top 30 in average yards per catch in the UFL, right? So when you can take a younger player, they have more opportunity, especially draft eligible, to go up right away. So Ajay, I feel like if he goes to Albany and does what he's supposed to, he'll be in the UFL, CFL in no time. So
you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. TJ, thoughts on some of the discussions that we just had with Albany kind of revamping a little bit on how they acquire players?
I just want to touch on the fact that even with how good they are, they're still open to doing things differently. They're still willing to try different things and go different routes and avenues. I think that's really awesome to see. A lot of times you have teams that kind of just stay in the lane that they're in until things start to go off, but them even succeeding, they're still switching things up and getting different types of players, going different avenues, things like that. So again, Albany, the rich become richer, reshuffling, get ready for the second half of the AF1 season.
Cody, any thoughts?
No, it's just kind of piggybacking off TJ. I mean, if anything, you can be like, hey, Albany's doing this in a kind of completely different way. And you kind of want to look at the other teams in the AF1 and be like, hey, man, why haven't you thought of this yet? What are you doing to try and take down Albany in that sense? Where it's like, are you guys thinking outside of the box? Or again, TJ's credit, where it's like some of these guys are just being status quo with it, where you're just like, hey, we're going to keep in that same vein, in that same lane and all of that. Well, Albany's doing things completely different. So now are they going to take a page like what Albany did? I'm not sure. But at the same time, yeah, the rich do get richer.
Fair point. Also posted 13 hours ago, Quintavious Workman has been placed on the other league exempt list for the AF1.
Yeah, he's San Antonio Toros in the COFL. His dad is the owner and head coach of that team.
His dad's the Texas Syndicate head coach and owner.
Really? Oh, I thought it was San Antonio, yeah.
No. So he signed with the San Antonio Toros?
No, it's the other one.
Okay, the Syndicate. Okay. Yeah. That makes more sense. I was trying to figure that out. I didn't do a lot of digging last night.
He should have never left. He was balling out for Washington. And now they have a good quarterback. So now this means my boy Akil is wide receiver number 1 now. So it's good.
That's fair. Yeah, he definitely was wide receiver 1. I will say that there may be some motivation for him to go down there because as of late, all of a sudden, there have been a couple guys from the COFL signed by the UFL and the CFL. So he might have seen that and been like, okay, maybe this is a good opportunity for me to go prove what I can do. But that does make sense. I was kind of wondering where he could have ended up. But,
it's a big loss for them.
For Washington, who has recently kind of caught a little momentum since Magalay stepped in. Definitely. Sorry, he's not the head coach. I know he's the owner, so I'm not sure about the coaching situation. But yeah. Anyway, either way, we don't cover the COFL here. This is an indoor football show. Regardless, he has signed with the Texas Syndicate, so that explains a lot. Any other final thoughts on the AF1 before we move on? Actually,
game last night and then other moves.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go. I'll let you start on the games last night. So we had, which game was that?
Nashville at Minnesota.
Nashville at Minnesota. Thank you. So go ahead and lead us in there.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's embarrassing, right? I mean, you pay a quarterback $2,800 a game. You know, you think about what could you got with $2,800. You know, you could have got a Malik Henry. You could have got some high-level quarterbacks, you know, for that much. But you pay a guy who's unproven in their style of play that much money to only for him to get hurt and not be able to produce at this level. He's throwing 8 interceptions, you know, in 5 games. So he's very turnover prone. You know, it's disappointing, right? They spent so much money on their team. You know, they put so many resources. And for them to lose by 30, it's on the coaching, man. It falls on Coach Speedy. You know, I respect Coach Speedy, what he's done as a player. You know, he hasn't proved shit as a coach. Let's just keep it a buck. What has he done as a coach? Nothing. So I do give a lot of credit to LaRoche Jackson down there. I think he's a great coach. I think he's doing great things with that defense in Minnesota. But I think Coach Speedy's on the hot seat in Minnesota for sure. And you might think that's crazy. You're like, how are we 5 games in and they're 3-2 on the hot seat? Man, like they have the second highest payroll in the league. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And from what I've heard from outside sources, I feel like they want to win now in Minnesota. So he's on the hot seat.
Their payroll is higher than Kentucky or Nashville?
Their payroll is higher than Kentucky, 100%. And Nashville is up there. Probably higher, honestly, from what I know.
That's crazy. I would not have expected.
Todd Davis is making 2 bands a game or something like that. Like, I mean, they're paying guys crazy amounts of money there. So if you can't win, you know, you pay to win. That's what it is, right?
In the AF1, you can do that. That is accurate for sure. So there is also some news that has come out of Oregon that there have been some missed payments. Players have been missing payments for a couple weeks now. Unfortunately, it does seem like Oregon's trending the direction of a few teams before them. You know, with the AF1 that have unfortunately gone under or gotten taken over by the league. We had heard some rumors that Oceanside was also having some issues. They have since seemed to stabilize a little bit, although we did notice at one point it looked like some members of the organization had moved on. So a little bit curious to see what's going on there. Hopefully they can right the ship with Oregon and figure things out and keep moving. But Krish, I know you've heard a little bit about that as well. What have you been hearing?
Yeah, Chuck Jones has been awfully quiet, you know, staying out my DMs. You know, I remember all that, you know, he tried to threaten me in the offseason and got all upset saying I spread misinformation. I haven't heard from you yet, Chuck. I wonder where he's hiding at. But, you know, it's disappointing, right? Like, money's running tight. You know, you try to think you can handle more than what you can really do. And, you know, it shows. So, you know, they got a lot of great players in Oregon. And, you know, Terrell Brown, one of the good receivers, he went to Arkansas Diamonds. They just released him. You know, they signed Maurice Ashley back from last year. But it's difficult, man. You know, and it's a failure on so many levels, you know, on the league too, that you knew this team was having problems. He came to you before the season and he said he was having issues, but you still let him play. I'd rather a team shut down before the season than we get into the season and have financial issues. Like, I'm always for that. You know, I think that's the best situation. So.
Ching, Krish Counter. I love it.
It's what it is.
No.
My thing is, like, you can get mad at me for saying something, but when it comes true and I'm right, you should send me an apology. You know, you can't be in my DMs talking crazy, you know, because I was going to be a real dick this week and go back to the message and put a heart on it. But I'm not that guy, right? I have the receipts. Oh, those receipts are coming out at the end of the season. Best believe.
Krish, I'm sorry I picked Orlando plus 14.5. I apologize on that.
Oh, God.
I'm not the A1, man. Don't do this. Not just too early.
This seems like a perfect time to transition. So we're going to go ahead and hit a quick commercial break. We will move on to the IFL. There's a lot to talk about in the IFL right now. We'll finish up with the NAL since we're nearing the playoffs with the NAL already. So
any other
go ahead.
A1 moves, though? Any other transactions that stood out to you from?
Nothing really on my part. Was there something you specifically wanted to talk about?
Yeah, Michigan not adding any O-linemen again this week kind of surprised me. But I feel like Michigan played Albany pretty tight. Malik had a great game. He lead the league in
100%.
passing yards. Do you have a runaway MVP yet for the F1, you think, or no?
I think it's tough this year. I think a lot of people who aren't paying real close attention will probably say Sam Castronova. But I think there could be a lot of different cases made for different players just because it's kind of more spread out than years past. I feel like there was more clear-cut number 1, number 2, number 3 candidates, whereas this year it's kind of just based on how everything's happened with, Castronova leaving, Kolka playing, a bunch of other stuff like that. It's kind of all, transitioned to a point where it's just very spread out. So I don't really have a runaway favorite right now. Do you have somebody in particular?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think if Malik can finish with if they make the playoffs and he can still lead the league in passing and finish with like 50 touchdowns, I think he'll win it. But I think right now it's Tyler Kolka for sure. I mean, he's not even having he played better last season if you watch the film, but he's still putting up tons of numbers and he's having a great season. So it's crazy.
I could see that.
In a new offense too, in a new offensive system. Impressive.
True. TJ, do you have an MVP favorite in the AF1?
I was going to go Tyler Kolka as well. Watching last night's game too also gave me a quick question that I wanted to bring up. In the AF1, is it kind of like a foregone conclusion at this point that it's going to be a championship rematch, or do you think anybody else steps up? Because even the other good teams that face Nashville or Albany, and Nashville obviously one loss on the season, but for the most part, it's just like dismantling from those two teams. So is there anything that'll stop a championship rematch this year?
Kentucky. Kentucky's the one team that I could see possibly sneaking their way in.
Yeah, but with Overstreet,
They got absolutely smacked by Albany, though.
That's a problem. And they don't have a consistent quarterback. Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. Overstreet.
Shea Spencer should still be the starter.
I mean, AC knows, right? They started with his boy, Shea Spencer, who was supposed to go to Wheeling. And I thought Shea was going to be next up, but apparently they don't think so.
I mean, you never know. Honestly, with the AF1, it's being healthy enough and being close enough to be relevant once you get close to the playoffs. Then the transactions start going crazy. So you never know. You know what I mean? You can bring in a veteran guy that's still in shape, but just waiting until time gets a little closer in terms of a quarterback position, and then he comes in, just like riding a bike, changes your whole offense. So you just never know. You know what I mean? But I guess it could be either of those 3 teams in my opinion right now. It could be Albany, Nashville, or Kentucky could slide in there. I mean, one thing about them with a vet presence, they're never too far out of it. You know what I mean? 1 or 2 moves away. It seems like most of the teams have one side figured out, not the other side, whether it's the defense and the offense or the offense and the defense. Because Michigan, I mean, how many games have Michigan been within a score from winning? You know what I mean? A stop away or a touchdown away, you know what I mean? So just depends. You never know who could end up there. I think there was one year where the Valor won the championship, but they were like a below 500 team. You know what I mean? So it's like, who's ever there during playoff time, you never know.
Good point. Cody, any thoughts on that?
Not really any thoughts. I mean, when you look at the standings and everything, the bottom half of the teams are es horrible. And that some of them have to play each other. There's going to be wins. There's going to be losses. But to everyone's credit, it's just they're all just kind of cannon fodder for what is going to eventually be a 3-team race between Nashville, Kentucky, and Albany. And then it's probably going to be between Nashville and Kentucky to go play Albany in the championship. So there is a possibility that Kentucky beats Nashville. There's a possibility that Nashville beats Kentucky. With 6 teams getting into the playoffs, right? It's not 4, it's 6. So you're going to have bye weeks and things like that actually help. So between now and the end of the season, it's probably going to heat up between who's going to get that 2 and that 3 seed to get that other bye. And then it's going to come down to that.
That's fair. That's fair for sure. Well, let's go ahead and transition away from AF1. Take a quick commercial break. Okay, go ahead.
About Minnesota, because I know, we know Minnesota, right? They have a veteran presence. Like, do you think they'll be able to rebound, or do you think they need a coaching change over there?
I don't know, man. Like, I'm not big on, players play. I'm not big on everything being thrown at the feet of coaches, and I'm not big on anybody losing their job. I just feel like whatever the problem is, they got to figure it out. I'm not a big fan of the shotgun stuff in the arena game either. So maybe that's something that's throwing them off. I mean, when they brought Laugh in, Laugh is giving them a veteran presence in the receiving game, but I think they lost Clarence. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if he's coming back. I don't know what's going on with that. So I think they just got to find their offensive identity. Like, I don't know what they're trying to do, but they got guys that know the game. LJ knows it, Darren knows it. So I don't know. I don't know what little tweaks they got to make, but they have players. They just, so much of that game is when you run into a buzzsaw team like Nashville, who's been hitting on all cylinders, you run into Albany, you ain't really got time to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It depends who's available right now too. Like what coaches are available right now.
Hey guys, it's me, Sam. I'm away from the show, but stick around. We'll be back.
I feel like your boy, LaRoche had done a great job with the defense all year. So, 100%. But it's difficult, man. I feel like, when you try to make a change mid-season, kind of it changes a lot, right, in your program. So it's better to wait till the end of the season. But when
I thought Malik was balling.
I guess I'll go to you, TJ. When you look at like maybe the top receivers in the AF1, who would you say talent-wise right now is the best in the league? I know it's hard because I feel like, do you feel like the receiver play has kind of elevated from last season?
I kind of feel like it's actually leveled out a little bit because, like last year it was like, you had like Honeycutt. He comes to my mind. You had certain wide receivers kind of balling out, week in and week out, especially with me doing some stat work for the AF1 last year. I was seeing the stats firsthand, and it just seems like this year, I don't know if it's because I'm not paying as close attention to the stats now or what, but it just kind of seems like it's more of an open field. Obviously, you still have some big name receivers, you still have Darius Prince and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really seem like there's like those different levels. It kind of just seems like there's a couple big names and then everyone else is, solid, but clumped in together. No one's really stood out too much this season so far for me.
Agreed on that point. All right, now we're going to transition over to the IFL and talk about the IFL Cup. Krish, you got to experience that game in person, but before we do that, one more obligatory commercial break.
mountains you climb, maybe stairs. The records you set, maybe personal. The fans you inspire, maybe family. No lights, no camera, just action. You don't have to be a pro. You just need HoneyStinger.
How many times a week?
Like three or four times, maybe.
I'm gonna pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
That's right. If you haven't done so already, make sure you share this with a friend and, hey, maybe even an enemy. Maybe you hate us and you don't like watching the show and you want to really bore the shit out of somebody. Share it to 2 enemies then. But on that note, we're going to transition over to the IFL and speak about Krish's enemies, Coach Mike Davis and Vegas Nighthawks, who may or may not have handed the Pirates a pretty rough loss. But just kidding. We're not going to hound Krish too much on that game. But I did want to ask you overall, what was the experience like at the IFL Cup? I mean, you know, we've talked a lot about the fact it's in a mall. Just kind of walk us through from the time you arrived for the first game, kind of all the way through the evening, just your overall thoughts on the whole process.
Yeah, it was amazing, honestly. I mean, you walk in, you know, we had lunch near the ski slope, and you can see right outside the window, and I mean, it's so cool. And then you walk downstairs. The football field was on the first floor, with the ice skating rink was located. The locker rooms are the same as the ones that they use for the ice skating rink, which I originally thought, you know, I was told I was wrong on that, but you know, some people, you just don't do their research. But I scouted out the landscape better than anyone before I got there. You know, so I wanted to, you know, have a good idea about what we were working with, and I got there and it was great. I mean, I sat down immediately, you know, watched the first game. The president of the Indoor Football League business operation, Jared Wyndham, came up to me. You know, we had a great conversation. Great guy, like really, really good guy in person. You know, he's not like some of these other leagues where the people are fake. Like he's real, you know. And so I really appreciate him. And, you know, we just sat there, kind of talked a little bit. And then I watched Arizona, New Mexico. You know, Arizona obviously won in a blowout. But after the game, I talked with Coach Hemp down in New Mexico. You know, it was fun speaking with him on the field. And, you know, I met a couple other New Mexico players, you know, so it was nice to meet them. And then, we did our show on the field. Oh, no, before that, I met the Vegas coach, you know, Coach Davis. Obviously, it was good meeting him, man. One thing I appreciate about him is he's got that same energy in person. You know, that same energy he was going with all week, like, and I did too. So it was not any of that, you know, to change up the energy. Like, he keeps it real. He keeps it real in person too. And so you gotta appreciate that. You gotta appreciate someone that can, you know, keep it the same way all the way through. So he got the same way. You know, we spoke for a minute probably pregame, and then we, you know, I went downstairs. You know, with the team in the locker room after our show. We did a great show. I had a really fun time on the show. We did over like 2,000 views on the show, so it was really successful. And we're looking at doing it at more games too. So we're in talks about going to different games around the country and trying to, you know, bring the show and bring content, you know, live in person. We went down, you know, it's great seeing the guys, you know, talked to our 11-man coaching staff, right? Sat with Coach Fuller, you know, talked with Toby, saw all the different coaches we have, talked with Coach Windsor, Obviously talking about with Jawad, and then talking to all of our players, and I had some great deep conversations with a lot of our guys. Puka, Blackman, Leon, all the guys, Naquan. We got in the game. I'll go through the game, man. I'm not ducking any smoke. I mean, what happened. We got in the game. We were up 14-0. I was trash talking Coach Davis, saying some crazy things, and we were up, and I was on the sideline. I had my eye black on. It was amazing. I'm like, we just won the Super Bowl. When we were 14-0, 27, I said it's over with. And then, that quarterback they have in Vegas, I mean, he's pretty damn good, man. I mean, that's why he's the best in the league for a reason, right? After throwing the interception, he went 12 for 13 and threw 3 touchdowns, and he was just unstoppable. I mean, he's just so his feel for the game. I've watched a lot of indoor football. He's absolutely one of the best I've ever seen in person, ever. Like, he knows where his receivers are at all times. But it's also the offensive line. I mean, the offensive line in Vegas is crazy. Their offensive line has to be one of the best in the country. I mean, like, Tomas is talented. Talented as Tomas is. Like, I think Puka is as talented, if not more. But Tomas has an amazing offensive line. That offensive line makes, it gives him so much time to operate and do what he does at a high level. Obviously, we went through the game. We created turnovers. I mean, Coach Davis, I give him a lot of credit for the adjustments he made. As soon as Paxton threw that second interception, we were downhill since then. He started throwing a lot more pressure, and unfortunately, we were able to handle the pressure. Defense, unfortunately, defense, we had a lot of guys out there. They just don't represent the culture and what the Pirates are at all. They were an embarrassment to anyone who's ever worn the uniform. And so those guys are no longer on the team. Jawad already made a ton of changes. We brought in some new guys I'm really excited about. We signed a DB from Mississippi State, Jerron Manning. He had a 91.3 PFF grade. So that's considered elite, right? And he played at SEC school. So he's fresh. He just got cut from Atlanta 2 days ago. So he was in Atlanta Falcons minicamp 2 days ago, and now he's coming to the Pirates. And so this is the type of high-level talent we're able to acquire. We went to the game. We lost by 40. And, there's some people out there that said I didn't shake his hand. He can clarify that I indeed did shake his hand, not once, not twice, but 3 times. At first time, I actually stood there and waited for his post-game interview. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to see him. I was so pissed. But I said, I'm going to do the right thing. I stood there during a post-game interview. I waited till he was done. I shook his hand. I kind of ran off. I turned around again, shook his hand, and then I went downstairs. I booked down the stairs. And more so, it's not because I didn't want to, be a good sport. And more so, I just wanted to be with the guys. Win or lose, I'm never going to jump off the shit. I own that we lost. It happened, man. But we have a bright road ahead. We got a lot of good winnable games. And then after the game, I even went to the locker room, Vegas's coach's locker room, and I shook his hand again. And I said, good game, coach. I didn't do any of that friendly shit. I didn't do any of oh my God, I'm so sorry. Nope. Went in there, good win, coach, congrats. I walked out. And I'm proud of myself. I feel like I handled losing, with pride and passion. And I wanted to represent my organization the right way. So, yeah. Good game, man. They played great. I mean, you can't say anything bad about that program. You know what? One thing I'll tell you about Vegas, they talk a lot of shit, but they back it up. And when you talk shit and back it up, it makes you so scary and untouchable. It's like the 2001 Miami Hurricanes. I told someone on our team that I'm like, we're playing the 2001 Miami Hurricanes, man. And that coach keeps the same energy throughout. So it's good. Good win for
That is accurate.
Again, man, I would love to play them in Tucson on August 16th, but we both have a long way to go. So, yeah.
We shall see. It's going to be an interesting game. I did want to ask. I overheard something quick, and I just wanted to clarify that I heard you correctly. I thought the Pirates play 8-man football. You said 11-man coaching staff?
Yeah, 11.
Just kidding, Krish.
Krish, can you take us specifically through quarters 2 through 4 in as much detail as you want?
No, I mean, I said, right, we had collapses on defense. We had guys running behind the play, guys not knowing their assignments. Guys not, guys, not knowing their assignments, and sometimes you got to look in the mirror and understand, you're not ready to be a pro, and you'll never be a pro. But
I do have a genuine question for you. Excuse me. What was the weather like? Because like talking with Trey, since he was up there as well from Off the Wall, he's in the comments. Go, deal with that. Was it still like humid? Was it still hot with the sun kind of setting in there? I mean,
a little bit, yeah, but it was
did the heat play a factor at all compared to the first game?
No, I don't think so. I mean, so I feel like, as a pro, you have to deal with the elements, and both teams have to deal with it. And I feel like, obviously Vegas was able to handle it better than us, but that's not why we lost. I'll tell you guys on camera, I mean, we suited up 3 D linemen, and one of them was hurt, right? So we're playing with 2 healthy D linemen, and Vegas is running tempo on us the whole game. Like, well, what do you expect? So that's why I feel like we got some real healthy D linemen in here this week. And yeah, I mean, like you said, what, quarters 2 through 4? I don't care that we lost per se. I care how we lost. I care. It doesn't matter what the scoreboard says. It doesn't matter if it's 53-26. It doesn't matter if the coach wants to throw the ball up 33 points with a minute left. That doesn't matter. I promise you, ask him right now, he would have done the same thing. Just like he went on the podcast and called Kevin Guy a Chihuahua. Like he just doesn't give a shit. He's just a savage. I don't really know what to say. But it's one of those things where, you got to understand, like, you worked your whole life to be a pro, and then you want to lose it all now. I would never understand. I'll never understand the guys who come in and don't put in the full effort. When, Jawad and everyone has given you a great opportunity to come in and play it at a high level, and you just don't want to, play throughout the entire game. Never makes sense to me. But those guys are no longer on the team. I'm happy with the team we have. We got a lot of high character men, and we'll bounce back. I promise you, we'll bounce back. So that's it.
I did want to play a quick video, which I thought was probably the coolest moment of either of the Cup games, and I'm pretty sure most of fans out there would agree. And of that is, of course, this moment with Puka Williams, who he just ran a kick return back for a touchdown, which I'm sure we all talked with. But so probably one of the coolest celebrations that I've seen in a long time. Obviously, something that can only happen in certain venues. And
I'll just touch on that too. I know people are saying online, 52-7. They went on a 52-7 run, after this, and it's true. I mean, that's a fact, right? They did go on a 52-7 run. Yeah, and I see you commenting, right? You have to remind us, you should be focused on Arizona this week. But I also think that for me, like 52-7, it represents, right, them, putting together a whole game. But for me, I think, Puka's been through a lot, right? And I'm really happy. It's great talking to him. I even told him that he's looking in great shape. Yeah, it does. I mean, you're lucky you have the best OC in the country, right? Like, and that's it, man. I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah.
Hold on.
All right, Krish. Cool down on the glaze, man. Y'all lost, bro. Just let it smooth over. All this best in the country, and not like, man, come on, bro.
They don't have the best OC in the country. Coach Chen is not the best.
I don't know. That probably.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, they're good as fuck. Don't get it twisted, but 52-7, that's a lot, bro.
I know. So that's on us, right? I mean, we guys on the field.
No, I'm with you, but
I mean, think about it, right?
It happens, bro. Wins and losses. You said the elements. You said the elements. Y'all's playing them all. I don't think there's no elements, bro. You good? Like,
I don't think. Exactly. That's what I said, man. But like, look. I'm gonna tell you this.
Y'all happen to play a well-oiled machine. Y'all got dogs on that team, but them dudes been playing together for a minute. And the rich got richer. They got Tomas on their team now. I mean, they ain't need him. You know what I'm saying? They got him now. I mean, they got a lot of weapons, dog. They got a good team.
They're a good team. They're a great team. I mean, that's why they won a championship last year. But all I'm saying is that, we're 4-3 and we're 2 games in the playoff spot with the worst defense in the league, right? So if we can correct that even a little bit and we keep going up and up, all we can do is go up. I mean that sincerely. So let's just keep going up. That's it. That's all it is.
My thing is, like, regardless of if it's Coach Chan or it's another coach or anything, like, I mean, any coach that's okay, they've got 3 defensive linemen healthy, and maybe not even, one of them was banged up as well, like you mentioned. So on top of that, like, any coach is going to see that, like, hey, we're going to run, up tempo. We're going to try and stretch run. We're going to do a lot of things to make them move off their spot and get them tired and then beat them into submission. So I don't necessarily think that was like not that I'm saying obviously Vegas has a great coaching staff. I'm just saying that I think in that particular circumstance, any coach would have exploited that. I'll
keep it real. I went in the game thinking, like, I knew Mike Davis was a good coach, but I'm like, he's a better recruiter than he is a coach, And I learned quickly the hard way, like, hey, man, he can really coach, he can make adjustments for sure. And,
Homie took the Nebraska Danger to 3 straight
for that
titles
long without being a good coach. You feel me? Like, but part of that scheme, knowing that y'all had them injuries and stuff like that, is part of what makes him a good coach. Mm-hmm. They have a great coaching staff across the board.
He's a good leader, man. He's a good leader, but he leads by how he handled himself pregame. And like I said, he pops his shit when he can pop his shit, but he pops his shit in not an arrogant way, like in a cool way. So that's what I respect. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, y'all got some dogs on your team too. I think y'all figuring it out.
It'll be fine. No way.
Cody, what were you saying, man?
I was just saying that Mike Davis has been around the league for a long time. Being a former Nebraska Danger fan, he took him to 3 straight championship games and ran into the buzzsaw that is the Sioux Falls Storm. So if Sioux Falls didn't exist, he'd have way more rings than that. Unfortunately, Curtis Riggs is the god of the IFL. So, I mean, all respect and credit where it is for Coach Davis. I'm using the comment, so I'll glaze him a little bit, but he's a damn good coach. He went to the CFL and went there and came back, and, it took a minute for Vegas to get going, but look where he's got him now, man.
The real question at hand is, how fast do we think Krish ran in this video? Man, he just slapped hands and he boogies out of there, man, as fast as he can.
Bro, hey, that's why I went to the locker room after and I shook his hand again. I'm not doing any of that friendly shit, bro.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Bro. No.
To his credit, to Krish's credit, he did say, I think either last week or the week before on the show, he said, if we lose, I'm booking it the F out of there. Like, where's he at right now? He's not at the mall. He's back home.
What it is, it's what it is, man. Look,
he straight up said that. So at least he's a man of his word when it comes to that.
But I want to see him in the comments saying how I went and I shook his hand again. And we talked after the game too, and I'll keep that conversation private. But I literally was so mad I didn't want to talk to him after the game. But I was like, you know what? I need to stop being a sore loser and handle it with pride. So we've had great conversations all week. It's all good, man. It's all love. That's it.
All right. Any thoughts on the other game that took place, Arizona versus New Mexico?
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, New Mexico's trash, right? But I mean, I can't wait to play them tomorrow. Beat them by 40, but they're a bad team. So,
Triple McGee says he's picking New Mexico in the game.
I'm taking New Mexico.
Do you guys know how they decided the matchups?
Well, the initial.
I mean, not the matchups, but the 4 teams.
Well, I have a thought that the teams were decided. Primarily Vegas was the championship or the champion from last year, so I think they got in because of that thought process. But I think they picked Orlando and New Mexico primarily because they were the newest 2 teams in their venues. So maybe it's not going to be as impactful for them to lose those 2 home games, or at least 1 home game in those two weeks. But honestly, I think Arizona was just picked because they're a good team. They're kind of a showcase brand. But Cody, you have any thoughts on that?
The only thing I'd say about that is obviously Vegas was picked as the defending champ. Orlando, being former Massachusetts, could drum up some fan support to go from Massachusetts down to New Jersey if anyone wanted to make the trek. Arizona being one of the longest tenured, you take the 2020 season that was canceled and all that, you take all of that stuff out. They are one of, if not the oldest franchise as of right now, because they started in 92. And then New Mexico is the newest team. So they wanted a fourth team, and New Mexico said, we'll do it. So, I mean, I don't have any basis or sources or anything like that. It's just kind of, that's the logic behind what I personally think. And to Brian's credit, they don't have the betting lines out for Orlando, New Mexico. They don't have any of the betting lines out for the IFL Cup. So shame on them.
That is pretty crazy.
Vegas didn't give obviously. I mean, Vegas obviously has they have a great fan base down there. And, I mean, I think Orlando, I know I'm going to keep private why we played in the IFL Cup, but I think certain teams, they have to sacrifice home dates for that. And obviously, the Kia Center can be a little pricey. So, I think it's a good opportunity to come back and kind of establish that fan base too. Up here.
Shane is a day one Vegas Nighthawks.
Is he actually really a day one Vegas Nighthawks fan, or is he just
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Like TJ. Like I know TJ was day one, right? Since 2022, yeah. So.
Yep. I've watched the build-up. I've watched the championships, and my sweetest moment beating the Pirates by 40 last weekend. I mean, I've lived a whole life.
So speaking of which, we haven't talked about it quite yet, but TJ will be at the IFL Cup games this weekend. So, TJ, tell us a little bit about your preparations. I mean, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
I'm just excited about taking it all in, getting to meet everyone, getting to meet Krish in person for the first time since, we've been on the network together for like 2 years. And like last week or the week before in the chat, I came up with the revelation that I have not been to a live IFL game since the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks were in it back in like 2011, 2012. Something like that. So obviously a lot's changed. The entire landscape has changed. So it's going to be exciting to just go and take it all in. I'm taking my camera and my video camera with me. So going to get a lot of cool footage for the network to share and pictures and stuff. So it's going to be a fun event. I just can't wait to meet everyone and see some cool games.
How do you feel about the Krish curse? He went to Omaha. Omaha's not had the best season. Now, Vegas did beat Orlando, but do you feel the Krish curse if he shows up for Vegas, Arizona, and then they just go on a downslide?
I will absolutely blame him for being a jinx if they lose tomorrow. I will absolutely do that. No, I think it's going to be a really good game. I'll be interested to see if some fireworks go off, when they're playing and coaching each other. So it'll be fun.
I'm unsure if I'll be there, but I will say this, no one can ever question my commitment to my team. The fact that I sat on a 15-hour bus, to get there. So
I don't think anyone's ever questioned your fandom of the Pirates before. You've always been true blue, man. That's one thing I got to give you.
The new Drake. Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
oh, my God. What did you do, Enrique? Come on, man. Been my team since they started, and that's when I followed the IFL. I was out of arena ball since the Soul folded up until the Nighthawks, and then like a year or two after the Miners came, and I've been heavy on them fellas since.
You can only be a real Vegas Nighthawks fan if you can name the entire receiving core from one to however many they have, 5, 7, I don't know, but.
Is there a legitimate chance they lose today? Yes. It depends on if Tulsa can score from the goal line or the red zone.
If Tulsa loses today, I would be so happy. I'm just be honest. That means we're 2.5 in the playoff spot. I would love
Wrong
that.
chat, or are we not good enough for you? Jeez.
Yeah,
He's trying to watch multiple YouTube videos at the same
It was
time.
great meeting Logan, honestly, last week. I mean, he's
Sorry, go get your stuff from Mr. Beast about Tulsa and San Antonio.
Maybe he's watching Inside the Alley or In the Alley videos.
That preview will be out later. Thank you for the shameless plug.
There you go. There you go. Speaking of which, I don't spend nearly enough time telling you guys to do this, but go subscribe to In the Alley on YouTube. If you are an IFL fan, his content is, in my opinion, unrivaled when it comes to the detail and the effort and time he puts into all of his previews and reviews. So, I mean, honestly, you could not catch a game at all, watch his preview, watch his review, and you're going to have a damn good idea what happened in those games. So strongly recommend it. There's a reason why I pushed so hard for him to be on this show for quite a while before we finally got him on here as a regular host. So definitely make sure to go subscribe to In the Alley.
Yeah, that guy sucks. Don't do it.
He may or may not be biased. Don't listen to him. But any other thoughts on the IFL Cup before we move on to the other subjects at hand?
No, it's just a good league. It was really well put together. It was really professional, and I just think it's been great to follow this league since 2021 and see how far it's come. I always think that, man, this league has come so far, man, and it credit to the league office and how hard they work and how they do things, with the right vision in mind, So I just think it's only going to get better and better, and I think we should all appreciate the indoor football league, the number one league in the country. And it's not even close. So.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely have been like some missteps, but I mean, I've talked about it plenty of times throughout all my videos where they were at in like 2018, 2017, where they only had 6 teams in the league. And you've just seen the news about them getting Athens as a new expansion team. There's articles written with Bay Area potentially coming back and stuff like that. And with other teams potentially on the horizon, with Krish was talking to Jared Widman at the Cup, and they're saying New Jersey could have a team at the Mall, things along those lines. There's other rumors of expansion and things like that. Like if the IFL is going to get to that 24 cap that they want to get to, they're right on track to do it. So you got.
And I tweeted this out too, and I mean this too, and I know they watch our show, but I appreciate them for letting me in because I say a lot of things that are inflammatory sometimes. But that shows to me that they value free speech, and I really appreciate that.
The one thing I will say about that, to Krish's credit, for the last couple of years, how kind of radio silent that front office has been in the indoor football league. What they've done this year, embracing the creators, embracing the fans, and actually getting the fans' voice and all of that stuff back into that sphere. It's been a very good breath of fresh air. I know I use that term a lot, but to actually see fans' voices heard and felt and everything like that compared to what it was just a couple seasons ago, it's actually been really cool to see all of the things, whether it's Trey, whether it's Krish, whether it's anyone within the league or on their specific teams, like to get that league, to get the IFL to say, hey, we're going to embrace these people. Even Big Four leagues don't do that. They're just like, oh, we got content creators, whatever. But to be able to be like, hey, we're going to go do this with these guys, it speaks volumes to what this league is doing.
Yeah, I'm talking about meeting Trey too. I mean, I used to think, I'm like, man, he sleeps in bed with Mike Davis on one side and Jared Wyndham on the other. But man, hey, I'm telling you, he's the most non-biased person you'll meet in person, bro. Trey is all about business, and he tells everything how it is, and that's what I appreciated about him. This is why you meet people in person. It changes your perspective on them. Good.
I don't know. He's a little bit of a Pirates fan, and there's something about that I just cannot get past. So I'm still not sure about that Trey guy.
Well, he's a day one Pirates fan. That's different.
True. Orlando Pirates. Maybe that makes it better. He avoids the masshole part. That's right. I even got into their name, the team contest. I called them the Georgia Crush. What do you think, Scott? I was not aware of the reason why you submitted that name. I thought it was relative to the Colorado Crush, but Scott told me that this is actually due to a song called, I believe, Orange Crush, made by REM. I think he said that was initially from Athens. So that kind of a cool idea there, Scott. I really like it. So maybe they'll take that into consideration. Is the venue really a feasible location for a real home team?
Yeah, they just need to make some upgrades.
I said not
I
yet.
thought the locker rooms were decent. I mean, I left Coach Davis in the chat, but nah, man, I thought they were good. Honestly, for the setup they had and the time they had, I thought they did a great job with the locker rooms. And I can only imagine if they have more time, it'll be good. I think it'll do. Honestly, I'm in favor of it.
I mean, the opinion for me, as you guys know, is very skeptical. Can they make it work? I think they can. Will it work in the long term? That I'm not so sure about. And again, to Triple McGee's credit, and he commented earlier, if you can get the nets up, then yeah, it'll work. But you've got to wonder what the seating will be like. Are people going to show up to 8 games in that venue? There's everything around that mall, inside the mall and everything like that, yes, you can have your casual spectators come in. There's no issue with that, but it's trying to retain those people where are they there to just go to Hot Topic and Spencer's, or are they there to actually watch football or anything in between? Are they going to come back to those games? Like, how do you retain those? Those are the skepticisms that I have, but you have that with every indoor team. It's not just privy to this potential New Jersey, which again, it's not even been announced. There have just been rumors, but those have been rumors for years at this point.
I wanted to get your thoughts real quick before we move on to the picks or whatever. The gold zone they had, you know how they had that thing on the post where if you like hit the whole thing, it could be a deuce. You know what I mean? Bro, that was awesome.
You mean the lack of posts?
Well, yeah, but like they called it the gold zone. It was called, I think. It was amazing.
It was the cup though.
You think they should have that? I think they should have that every game, honestly, because it increases the number of deuces, and it's fun.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though, and I mentioned it in our group chat. Whether it's like kind of like the automatic balls and strikes that they have in baseball now, where it's like if it touches just a little bit of it, then it counts. Which on the one hand, great. On the other hand, like if it hits that outside portion of the net, that's kind of the goalpost, and that would be a bar ball in the real. With the piping and stuff. So would it make a difference? Absolutely, because some of those things, if it hits the bottom part of the net, that would be a bar ball off the bottom crossbar. If it barely nicks it, then like it still counts, but that would be something going off to the sideline or off out of the end zone. So it's like what would be a touchback to the 20 is now suddenly a deuce because the little corner of the football hit the little portion of the net. And in fact, it increases scoring, which fine, people want that. But at the same time, it's like, does it really count as a deuce? Because I mean, you got to get it through the uprights.
And I don't know if it was as much the gold zone affecting deuces and how well the kickers were kicking, as opposed to just the setup of the mall because of the high ceiling, everything else like that. I don't think it was specifically just the lack of posts that were making it easier for the kickers.
That might be the case. I mean, I think, okay, this is confusing to me. Structurally, the glass ceiling can't hold posts, but I'm sure they're looking into all ideas. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2024, when they had the AFL championship, they had full goalpost mounted in there. So that there structurally has to be a way it was done. And I would imagine Jared Woodman would be privy to that. So I'm a little confused on that comment right there, but I will say that regardless, if you're making this a permanent venue, you have got to transition away from those banners. I get it for the cup. It's a one-off. You can use that, sure, but
so what's stopping someone from making this out of PVC piping, and then the bottom portion, instead of it being hung up, it's a goal post like what you see in actual outdoor football, where it's stuck not into the concrete, but you can drill it in there, or have a structure like that where you can kick it through the uprights, or have people hold on to it if it hits the upright or something like that and falls over. I don't know, but yeah, you absolutely need something like that.
Yeah, there's got to be a solution, and honestly, that might be the solution. Honestly, Cody. Now, I will say it would be a little dangerous to have that, in the back of the end zone. Even behind the wall, as we know, guys can go over the wall at any point. So last thing you want is for them to hit something else.
Well, not with that negative attitude. Geez. No, I'm just kidding.
They did not hang those. Those were set up differently. I wanted to say, I definitely know you're correct, because I don't think it was
weren't they hung up by the walls?
That's what I believe. That's what I was going to say. I believe they came like outward instead of downward. So that would be something to look into. They had brackets for those, but I'm with you all 100%. I'm sure they're all figuring that out. Yeah, and like I said, I get. Look, I wrote an article. If you haven't read it, go check out ShadySportsNetwork.com. I wrote about the best parts of the cup, the mediocre stuff that I was not thrilled with, and then the worst stuff. And really, a lot of the stuff that I think was negative points in this game were not that bad. And one of the things that I thought like was a glaring thing at first was the banners, but then as the game went on, it didn't distract me as much. It didn't bother me as much. And by the time the second game came around, at that point, it felt almost normal. So I don't think it's that big of a deal for the cup games, but for a full-time home arena, I think there has to be a solution.
Yeah, by the time the second game came around, like it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but you got to work on those camera angles because trying to go panning from like left to right and trying to get down there on that like the closest to you sideline, they had to switch camera angles so many different times to make sure that people could see if there was a rush to the left side going right to left. You had to switch camera angles in order to see it because that camera couldn't pan downward in time to see it because the camera angle is completely different than what you have in a typical arena.
That'll be an interesting challenge to try and figure out as well.
I'm also I'm still thinking about that as goalposts, not to cut you off. What if you did it like the letter H, like they do in like Australian football or rugby or things like that, or even how like LSU has it, where it's just a giant capital H and it still matches the requirements. And then that adds more, structural ability. So I don't know. Definitely things to brainstorm.
Absolutely. So this isn't one we really need to spend time on, but I wanted to throw it out there. Andrew Carter, an offensive lineman from the Green Bay Blizzard, has signed with the Birmingham Stallions. So congratulations to Andrew Carter on getting the move up. Always love to see guys, getting the opportunity at the next level.
He can go hold in the UFL.
Damn, Cody! I thought Krish had already spoken on that subject, but apparently not.
That's the inside joke that Rob Hossman and I. So shout out Rob for the Quad City Steamwheelers. Anytime Green Bay comes to town, the inside joke is number 78 is still holding. So now that he's going up to the UFL, he can go hold up there.
That's
it's just a little inside joke. It's not anything mean or anything mean spirited. It's just anytime they come into town, it says, and number 78, he's still holding. So shout out Rob.
Terrible. How dare you make jokes at Andrew's expense? So one more topic that I wanted to bring up. Obviously, we just watched the game last night between Iowa and Jacksonville. Jacksonville came out of the game with a 60-48 victory over Jacksonville or over Iowa. And ultimately, it looked to me, in my opinion, like Iowa was a lot more competitive last season with Clifton McDowell at quarterback. So I wanted to kind of go around the horn, get you guys' thoughts on his performance, but also I wanted to kind of ask you guys, like, seeing what we've seen now out of Iowa, how do we feel about what Dave Mogensen did with the Barnstormers before he was let go? I mean, does it have a new frame for you now? Does it maybe look like he had done a pretty good job, or do we still feel like they made the right decision in moving on? Let's go to Cody first on this one.
Jury's still out. I know that sounds kind of like a cop-out answer. I get that, but we are half a season under Andre Coles, and so far the roster turnover that they've had has been a lot, whether it's been the defensive players, the offensive players, things along those lines. They're still trying to fit the pieces that they want into that roster. They've gone through 4 quarterbacks now with Clifton McDowell starting. So yeah, and I've said this about Tucson, I've said this about any other team, that if you can't get your quarterback right, you're going to have a pretty horrible season, man. As of right now, it looks like Mogensen's got the better end of it because he's been able to have Joaquin Collazo or James Cahoon, which this was a James Cahoon revenge game. But you've seen a little bit of that like structure that Andre Coles wants to instill from what he's had from Frisco to Tulsa to anything and everything now in Iowa. I want to see what happens from the end of this season till next season, because like I said, if you just look at it on paper, you're like, hey, nothing has really changed. I think some things have changed for the better There's definitely things that still need to be worked on. And I'm not saying Mogensen was like horrible or anything. There's just some things that he was very limited to, rosters, spending, whatever the case could be. But on the flip side, like Andre Coles is trying to get blood from a stone with what he's been capable of doing. He's got to win. Can he get a second one? Could he potentially get a third? It remains to be seen. But as of right now, I mean, Coles is looking like the guy to help build this program. It's up to that program to reciprocate that back.
I like how you close that out there. TJ, what are your thoughts overall? I mean, when you look at Iowa over the past year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, I'm just pretty much going to echo Cody's opinion on it. With it's still too early to tell. I'd probably give till at least the end of next year to really make a decision on that one. I mean, they're showing, like last night they played. They essentially went toe to toe. Yes, they had some mistakes, missteps, everything else, but they hung in till the end. They covered the 20 plus 21.5, which I was very happy about. And it's what you have here is a very slow rebuild kind of taking shape because of just how not that good they've been lately. And like I said, I think you have to give him this year, and then going into next year, again, to Cody's credit, give him the resources or give him extra this or extra that to get better players in for next season, start to rebuild that culture. There may not even, really be a set culture with the lack of winning they've had in recent years. So, you got to hit the reset button. This season is a start for it, but next season I look for them to make some more changes for the better for the team and really get going. And then after next year, we'll be able to really say if they're moving in the right direction and how things, how it looks compared to years past.
Fair points. Krish, thoughts?
Yeah, my benchmark for Andre Coles this season going into it was 5 wins. I wanted, him to hit 5 wins to prove that the program was moving in the right direction, right? You think about it, last year they got 1, the year before they got 2. So, get to 5. Get to 5 wins and show that you're moving this in the right direction. I haven't seen that yet. I don't think, being competitive, you can be, you can say that last year, Iowa was competitive with Tulsa. Remember? They should have won that game, and so losing by 12 points to me, you don't win. You don't get anything for being competitive. Clinton McDowell looked amazing. 4 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing, 15 for 22. He played a good game. But you have to remember, 2 weeks ago, Dante Santos looked amazing the first game. And I still think Dante Santos is amazing. I think Dante Santos can be a really good quarterback at this level. I really do. But I think he needs to be developed. So if we're going to keep switching quarterbacks, how are you developing anyone? Look at Anthony Garrett down in Northern Arizona. First game, he had some issues. He's starting to look like an improved product. And by the end of the season, he'll be a finished product. So you just have to develop and learn. And I don't think Andre Coles has been making enough moves to really, fill deficiencies or fill holes. That defense is still awful, So I can't. I don't know what you do. If you win 1 game, say you win 2, say you go 2-14, what do you do? Do you keep them? Do you move on? I don't know.
That's the question that you have to ask, though, is think about what Coles had to do. He was from Frisco, where he had TJ Edwards, he had Jermaine Smith, he had a great defense that sent players to the CFL with Cordell Jackson and things along those lines. What he's done now with Iowa, he's away from Tulsa. He doesn't have TJ Edwards. He doesn't have a decent defense. He doesn't have Jermaine Smith. So it's he's pretty much building this all from scratch. Yes, he's brought some coaches like Coach Serta and Snoop Blackman, I think was his name. Yeah. So he's got some coaches that he's brought with him, but at the same time, it's you're also kind of building this from scratch in a sense. You've completely done the transition from what Mogensen had to, hey, we're going to start completely over. And yes, it doesn't look the prettiest, but like I said, you got to give him a little bit more time. And if it's kind of the same thing among Mogensen, where it's if you don't get it done by year 3, there's no draft. You have to go and recruit. You have to go do this. You have to get your coaches and the players on the same page. If you can't do that in a couple of years, maybe you aren't the guy.
That's fair. I think you have to give Coles at least a year or 2. I think specifically, like Cody mentioned, he is dealing with a drastic transition here. He's going from two organizations that have shown a willingness to provide amenities to players. I don't want to send out their accusations, but he's worked for organizations that are willing to pay, quite frankly, before this. And, Frisco had a really good team. They had a lot of talent. Obviously TJ Edwards and all the players that Cody mentioned, Jerminic Smith, Meatball, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I could go on for days about those teams, but at the same time, that is a huge transition to try and rework the entire way that you build rosters and the way that you have coached. So it is interesting to kind of see how Coles will adapt, but I don't think you can glean too much off of half a season so far. I think overall you're going to have to give him at least a year or two. So we'll see how things go. But it's going to be interesting to follow along with Iowa over the next year or two and ultimately this offseason to see what they do, because I personally hope they give Coles more time. I just don't think that he's had enough time to prove what he can do yet, but it should be very interesting to kind of see how things go. But any other final thoughts on the IFL before we transition to the NAL?
We got to do our betting picks. Come on.
Man, you're so intent on doing betty picks.
Well, the good news is there's only 3 to do.
One, man.
Or 2 to do, actually.
I think
There's only
he
2.
has a problem.
I haven't bet on a single IFL game this year.
What?
That's crazy. I know that's crazy.
I don't believe it. Did your dad take away the password for the account?
That was a
No,
lie.
the FanDuel, the DraftKings account is running low. So from college football season or college basketball season. So I moved on to
You got to stop betting on the Pirates, man.
I almost bet like $200 on us covering the spread. Thank God. Oh my God.
Yeah, we won't talk about betting on covering the spread for the Pirates. I may or may not have made multiple bets on that.
I didn't want to be the guy on the sideline standing having money on the game. Like I thought that would look really weird.
They covered in the first half.
Like,
that's all we needed.
Ready when we scored a touchdown, like cover the. No, I don't want to be that guy. So I'm like, whatever.
I mean, my bet worked out. I bet the over and Vegas minus 14.5, and well, Vegas took care of everything. So.
Yeah, well, see, I hedged my bets. I bet on the spread or I bet on the points for Mass Lando. I thought they were going to cover, and I thought Vegas was going to win. So I got my bet back for the Vegas win. However, I made several bets on the Pirates covering because I felt really good about that. And then, they went out and lost by 40.
So, TJ, the spread was minus 14.5. I feel like they must have won by just 15, right? They didn't win by any more than that. It was a really close game.
You talk a lot for
it was a squeaker, man. It was really close until Vegas woke up.
I mean, I own my stuff, man. They're not good.
Yeah,
they have a better defense.
Honestly, though, I can't even argue that. That's a fact right now.
Bro, we're arguing about the battle of mid right now, okay?
Yeah, basically, there's only a handful of teams right now that can claim they're at the top of the IFL. A lot of these teams I feel have been cannibalizing each other this year, standings wise. There's a lot of 4-3, 3-4, 2-5. Kind of in that range, rather than over the past couple of years.
I'll leave it at this. The next 3 games are New Mexico, Tucson, and Iowa. So I'm just saying, if we take care of business and do what we're supposed to do,
you should at least be 1-2 in those 3 games.
No, but seriously, the future it is bright. We have a good schedule ahead.
No. Realistically, that is a good stretch to try and get things right. And I've talked about it heavily. I think Paxton DeLaurent is a great quarterback, and I think once they get things worked out there, I think the Pirates will be tough down the stretch. They're.
Don't underestimate Iowa. They'll beat you when you least expect it.
That's very true. That's true.
That's not a shot. That's Iowa's only win is against Quad City, and I hate it.
So you might say you understand all too well how good they can be. But we're going to go ahead and talk about these bets. So what have you guys bet on this week? Full disclosure, I emptied out my account this week because I bet heavily on the Pirates, and they lost. So on that note, I have not made any bets yet this week. So
what's emptied out your account? What, like $2, $20? Like put a number on it, man.
Yeah, it's not much. I'm not acting like I dropped a ton of money on the Pirates.
Yeah,
I'm not
your
that.
account sounds like hey, you better be dropping like 400 when you use the term.
Emptied out my DraftKings account. Sorry,
Yeah,
let me be clear. My DraftKings account, not my bank account. I'm not irresponsible with my betting. I have bills to pay, kids to feed, a mortgage, all that fun stuff. I put $20 in my account like 3 months ago, and I've been playing ever since with that same $20 because I like to make safe bets occasionally. So I've been playing on that for a while. But this past week, I bet heavily on the Pirates, which I normally spread my bets out quite significantly. So I'm never in too much on a single bet. I went against my norm on that one because I thought the Pirates were going to be in good shape. And then I bet on some basketball for whatever reason. And I lost that basketball bet. And that was really what really toasted out the rest of the money. So it really wasn't all the Pirates. I just like to give you crap. So. 5 digits, Krish. 100, 00. But anyway, so we'll go to you guys, the betting experts. I am not an expert, clearly. TJ, who did you bet on this week?
I picked both home games for those teams. I took Gunslingers. I took money line though, and then San Diego. I also took money line. I feel like obviously Tulsa, San Antonio. It really depends on which team on each side shows up because sometimes both teams can play pretty good. Other times they play sloppy. So that depends. But I'm going to take San Antonio at home, and San Diego. They should win. I don't know. 8.5 is a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. So again, I took money line for that. And in terms of over-unders, Tulsa, San Antonio, I would pick the over. And for the San Diego, I'd go under.
All right. Cody?
Yeah, I'm taking money line for Tulsa in this one. I think they're just kind of the better team. Joaquin Collazo, who started for San Antonio last week, he's on short-term injured reserve. So Fred Payton's going to go in there. They have a little bit of a quarterback conundrum right now in San Antonio and who's going to start, who's going to play. So Payton's going to play this entire week or this entire game, I'm assuming. I don't know what to make of San Antonio. There are times where they look pretty good. There are times where they look kind of bad. And Tulsa, I think, has been kind of consistent. They've lost a lot of close games. I think that is going to benefit them in this. I think they've beaten them prior in the season 29-22. So I think Tulsa wins this one. Give me about 7 to 10 points. I think it'll be closer than some people might think. And then for Northern Arizona, San Diego, my original thought was minus 8.5. Huh?
Sorry.
Oh, my bad. Northern Arizona, San Diego. My original thought was minus 8.5 for San Diego. I think Northern Arizona is kind of turning a corner a little bit on offense here. So go ahead and give me the over 86.5. I think that they can put up points. San Diego has been known to give up points on that defensive side of the ball a little bit so far this season. So I think if both those teams can score in those mid 40s and things like that, I like the over in this one. I think San Diego still pulls out the victory. Could be close, but minus 8.5 is a weird number because you have to win by more than a touchdown. So maybe Northern Arizona can cover that a little bit, even if they lose by a touchdown. But just for sake of betting, give me the over 86.5 for that one.
Makes sense. Sorry about that, Cody. Thought I was muted when I said that.
You're fine.
Krish, what about you, sir?
Yeah, so for me, I look at Tulsa, San Antonio, and I think I feel like a broken record because I say it every week. If San Antonio can win one of these games, what a big culture building win it would be for Jonathan Bain. I love what Coach Bain is building in San Antonio. You know, he's a young coach. He's still learning how to coach this indoor style of play. So for me, I like San Antonio +3. Tulsa has been so sporadic offensively. I love TJ Edwards, but I think he's hurt. I still think he hasn't recovered from that injury, completely. You watch him run, he's slower. He looks hurt, straight up. Off the line hasn't played great at all for Tulsa. Give me San Antonio to cover the spread, +3. Northern Arizona, San Diego. I mean, Anthony Garrett, man. Northern Arizona deserves to send Coach Davis a bottle or whatever he wants for sending them Anthony Garrett. That was a blessing in disguise. He's coming to save that franchise. Northern Arizona, San Diego, over 86.5.
That old Billy Back special. Get one of them sent over there from Northern Arizona. I love it. Anthony Garrett is playing really well, and I questioned Coach Davis when he initially carried 3 quarterbacks, and so far it looks like he knows a lot more than I do when it comes to quarterback play. So definitely looks like it's worked out so far for him this year. But we are going to transition away from the IFL. We will go ahead and hit a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with the NAL. A lot happened over the past week, despite the fact that there was only 2 games that were played in Week 11. A lot of teams were on bye week, but a lot of the playoff seeding has been kind of clarified at this point. We know a lot more teams have clinched playoff berths or playoff seeds. We also have some pretty big transaction news that I want to discuss, and a couple other things we'll get to as well. And then I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for the day. We do have a couple other things that we'll get to, but hang out with us, and we're not quite done yet.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like Boomstick Lady. No free throw is safe from the roar of her sticks. SeatGeek helps her find a seat in the direct eye line of the shooter so she can sit where her boomsticks make the biggest boom. Everybody okay? SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
How many times a week?
Like three, four times maybe.
I'm gonna pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
All right, we are back, and we're going to discuss some NAL topics, including the turnaround for the Omaha Beef, who have now won their 3rd game and all but clinched a playoff berth. There's still an outside chance some things could happen, but with a win this weekend, they could complete that turnaround and make their way into the playoffs. But Colorado has also officially clinched their playoff berth, and Southwest Kansas clinched first seed thanks to Omaha winning over Sioux City. So we're going to start with that Omaha game. Omaha went into Sioux City and managed to find a win this past weekend. So let's go ahead and go to Krish first on this game. Were you surprised to see Omaha go into Sioux City and get the win, considering you had picked Sioux City last weekend?
I was surprised. I was also surprised that, we don't call pass interference in the end zone. I was surprised about that too. But, at the end of the day, right, Omaha played a great game. They put together a good game plan. CJ has been doing a great job with that offensive unit. They finally have a quarterback down there in Espinoza. I like it. They signed Anaris Antoine this week. That move makes no sense. He doesn't fit the culture of the Beef whatsoever. So I don't know why we're signing guys who don't fit our culture, but it's a little strange move. But D2 is a versatile athlete if he can stay locked in on football. And that's a big key word there. So yeah, man, I just think it's interesting. I think Omaha's coming around. I do think they will lose tonight to Colorado. I think Colorado will come in and put up 40 points on them. Their offense is too dominant. Their defense is – I'm still not sold on the defense in Omaha, man. I still don't think those guys are legit. So they need to prove to me that they can play against a dominant offense in Colorado. And I will say something outrageous. If Sioux City had Jeff Mack last week, they would have won. So, yeah.
Speaking of which, Jeff Mack has signed with the Pueblo Punishers. A little bit of an interesting move there. So we'll see how things go for him down there. TJ, you're our resident Beef fan who has not jumped off the bandwagon so far. So as far as that goes, how are you feeling about this win?
I'm feeling good, man. Hey, don't call it a comeback. Hey, I've been calling it as soon as they got their groove, man. This was a possibility. If there was any team, specifically in the NAL, that could make this kind of a turnaround in season, it would be the Beef with Ricky as the owner. He doesn't mess around, man. They've been bringing in guys, cycling new players. Espinoza seems to be finally the quarterback answer for the remainder of this season now. Defense, while they have still been giving up big plays, open holes in coverage, they have improved drastically since the start of the season. And ever since CJ's taken over, CJ Kane as OC, man, yeah, it's literally doubled the offensive production in the last couple of games for our entire season in points scored. I mean, it's just the team is looking completely different. I think they're starting to click on all cylinders. And that win against Sioux City last weekend, that was a game that earlier in the season, they don't win. Even if it's close at the end, they probably give up that touchdown and they're on the losing end of that close battle. But they played tough. They hung in there. They pulled a little bit of a comeback in that fourth quarter and capped it off with a win. I think you're going to see a similar game tonight in Colorado, but the Beef are going to win and clinch the playoffs. And I'm going to be doing my extreme happy dance. I'll probably break the couch because I'll be dancing and jumping up and down on top of it.
All right. Cody, thoughts?
Yeah, it was a nice little back and forth affair between the rivals on I-29, I think is what it is. I think that's what it is. So yeah, Omaha pulling out the victory. I honestly think I picked Omaha last week. I cannot honestly remember the amount of games that we covered, but it's a nice little turnaround that the Beef are having right now. And obviously, Dallas, Louisiana, and Amarillo are kind of towards the bottom there. So it's setting up nicely for the Beef to clinch maybe not even that final playoff spot, potentially that 5th seed. And it gets them a little bit better of an opponent, or maybe, something along those lines. Looking at the stats, Devonair Conliffe looked really good. Vincent Espinoza found kind of your wide receiver one with that connection that they got right there. So I really like what they're putting together. It will be interesting to see how they come out this week. Last week is fine, but then if that turns into, game number 2, game number 3, and they start rattling off some wins, then that trend starts to become what Omaha wants to get back to, which is a dominating team in the NAL.
How about Daquan Dudley, man? Unbelievable. 10 touchdowns in 7 games.
Oh yeah. He's on fire right now.
Unbelievable. Devonair Conliffe, as you mentioned. I'm just really impressed with how they use these receivers to create big plays. Remember in the beginning of the season, Omaha couldn't get a big play to save their life. Now Omaha is becoming a big play offense. I think I was looking to average, I want to say 10.3 yards per completion. So it's pretty impressive.
It just came to my attention, so I apologize that I'm going to have a slight aside for the AF1, but just wanted to shout out Darren Arbett, who got his 200th career win as a coach last night. I just saw that. That's the only reason I didn't mention the AF1 section. So congratulations to Coach Arbett. But back to the NAL. I apologize for that brief detour there, but definitely was not privy to that prior to the show. And that is a huge mark that deserves some recognition. So, Chris, you kind of briefly touched on it, but kind of glossed right over it. Colorado versus Omaha this weekend, which we obviously know Coach McGuire is now in Colorado. We'll be making the trip most likely back up to Omaha for this game. So should be an interesting storyline to follow along with tonight. What do you think about that game?
I mean, it has Colorado written all over it, man. I mean, nobody I really am sick of people, in the league not giving Colorado credit for their receiving core. I think they have one of the best receiving cores in all of indoor arena football. Those guys are insane. Bissett Woodley can play for almost every team in the country. I mean, he's insane, I really like Bissett Woodley. I think Bissett Woodley could play for Vegas. I think Bissett Woodley could play for Arizona. I think he could play anywhere in the country. 15 touchdowns in 7 games is insane. I mean, he's just a baller. But Steven Newbold, Alexis Rosario, Green, Michael, the young one, the offense is so dynamic. The offensive line is amazing. Javon Kilgo. Now, who was the quarterback in the Champions Bowl in 2022 that beat Omaha with Salina? It was Javon Kilgo. Javon Kilgo has great history against the Beef. I believe his all-time career record is 4-0 against Omaha. So I love it, man. I'm excited for tonight. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be high scoring, in my opinion. But I got Colorado winning this game 45-40.
45-40. That's a pretty tight margin there. Could be a very exciting game if that's the case. And with playoff implications on the line, I think that Omaha is definitely going to come to play in this one. So, Cody, what are your thoughts about tonight's game?
Omaha by 50 billion points. I don't know. This should be a very, very tightly contested game, to be honest with you. Like I said, just because Omaha played well and they got the victory last week, you got to go out and do it again. You can't just rely on your laurels when it comes to that. So will they do it? That remains to be seen. It's up to CJ and that offense to sit there and say, hey, we're going to continue to keep doing this. But Colorado, they've looked kind of wishy-washy. There are times where they look really good. There are times where you're left kind of scratching your head. And so you're just like, hey, what Colorado team are you going to get? I think it's going to be tightly contested. I think it might be a little bit lower scoring. I mean, give me something along the lines of like a 42-39. I want that. I want that beef. Give me that beef. It's what's for dinner. I think Omaha pulls out this victory. I don't know how. Could be a last-second touchdown. It could be something along those lines, but we also have a little bit of a revenge game in that front office from Colorado to Omaha. So, yeah, we'll see how that kind of goes too.
Do you think Negron and Ricky will talk to each other at all? Like, how is that even going to be? That's going to be so weird.
I think they will, yeah. I think both of them
they might exchange pleasantries like, hey, how you doing? But I doubt they're going to get anything past that football talking stage other than like, hey, you think you got a chance to win tonight? Of course we do. So things like that. They're not going to be like, hey, remember when you were coaching my team?
I actually did. I think that they're probably on the same page, and I think they probably will have a conversation probably after the game, if I'm being honest. They'll probably wait till the results in the bag there. But I know I like to believe that I know both of those men fairly well, and I think both of them are professional enough to respect what happened and understand that understand that it's not a personal decision. It was not Ricky saying, I don't like you, Coach Negron, as a person. It's, hey, your performance has not been up to snuff. We moved on. And to Coach Negron's credit, when I talked to him about the move from Omaha to move on from him, he said, I didn't get the job done. So, I mean, I don't think that he holds any grudges against Omaha because he understands that the standard is the standard, right? So they didn't live up to it. And unfortunately, somebody had to pay the price for that. And, you're not going to fire the owner, especially when he's had a great run there in Omaha. So I think Coach Negron definitely understands the whole thought. And I think that they'll probably be able to have a conversation personally. But TJ, what are your thoughts on the game? Do you see Omaha pulling this one out?
Yeah, like I said before, man, I kind of see almost like a repeat of last week's game. It's probably going to go down to the fourth quarter, probably inside a minute. It's going to be, team with the ball, defensive stand or score to win the game. I think the Beef come out and win it though in the end. I'm thinking a close scoring game. I'm thinking a lower scoring game like the rest of the guys. I'm seeing Omaha 40, Colorado 36.
Coach, in saying this, you're telling us that you have a personal beef, so to speak, with Ricky ? Or it's personal because he's an opponent currently ? Just want to throw that out there because I think that might answer a lot of questions there for everybody. But this is a good question. Will Coach Negron get another opportunity to be a head coach in the NAL? Krish, do you think he will?
If he wants to. or he might want to stick to the business side, right? I mean, he has a great opportunity with Colorado. Denver is a great market, and he can help build that franchise up to, bring him to higher levels. So maybe he wants to look at other opportunities. I mean, he'll have opportunities to in the front office. Coaching wise, I don't know where he's at with it. I mean, he's in the chat. I mean, does coach want to coach? Again. I mean, coaching takes a lot out of you. It's a big commitment. So,
agreed. Hopefully coach doesn't mind, but to shed some light on my conversations with him privately, he has expressed a desire to be a head coach once again. So I do think he has that desire. Things may change, obviously everything's subject to change, especially when you're sacrificing time away from family and stuff like that to be there. So
this is a match made in heaven. Remember when he was going to Wyoming? I remember having him on the show and being like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, what is he doing? He's going to Wyoming. But then he got this opportunity with Colorado, and it's like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's a match made in heaven, honestly.
I mean this entirely as a joke, but what was your favorite part about his time at Wyoming? Was it the interview?
Yeah, probably. That was the only part of it. I mean, did he even go up to Wyoming and see it? I don't even know. I'd be thankful. Of course, personally, we put everything into these jobs. Yeah, of course.
I don't know, man. I'm just the IFL smoothie vendor.
I won't say anything, but look out for another celebration from him this week. That's what he told me. So I know what store he's going to too. So.
I swear to God, if he's going to the brand new Toys R Us.
I told him to get a mojito from that smoothie stand. I thank God he didn't, but I was
like, promote drinking on this.
I was like
flagged last week.
You might as well. Who knows?
Hey guys, it's me, Sam. I'm having trouble with my internet again. Tune in next week. Homie's muted.
Who do we got for MVP though? We need
not Wi-Fi issues this time. I had some other issues with my son that I needed to tend to real quick. But
who do we got for MVP? Oh my God!
I swear we just did this last week.
Oh my God! This is crazy.
Okay, maybe it is personal. I don't know. It's getting spicy in the comments today, people. What did everybody drink in their coffee this morning?
Hey,
all right,
next week
you are not supposed to put Bailey's in the coffee at 6 a.m. People, you have got to save that till 6 p.m. Okay, so just saying, like for the future, no more alcohol this more early in the morning. I'm just saying.
Definitely no mojitos.
Definitely no mojitos. That is not a breakfast drink, despite the mint. Okay, it does not substitute brushing your teeth in the morning. Krish,
get a mimosa like a minute.
Let's go. Coach.
What's up, guys?
How's it going, Coach?
What are y'all doing?
Just talking some football.
We're hanging around. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm in the team hotel as a visitor. This is awkward.
You're in the team hotel as a visitor. That
Yes.
is a little interesting.
It is.
For sure. So I take it you wanted to join us to speak on some things?
Yeah, first off, I'm just having some fun. Ricky and I will always be cool. He gave me a great opportunity to coach a great team. I hate the way it ended. I mean, of course, there's personal because you put everything into these jobs, right? I never envisioned leaving Omaha like that. But the guys, I didn't get it done. They've won 3 in a row. They've got the team moving in the right direction. They made the necessary personnel changes. I'm always going to have my feelings. Ricky's always going to have his feelings. But I mean, it happens, right? This is the business, right? So I'm with Colorado. I'm happy. I'm building something here in the front office, but let's not get it twisted. We want to win this game. There's a lot of implications regarding playoff seeding and things like that as it relates to this game, and I would love nothing more than to leave here with a victory, and I'll be good with that. So these guys are going to take care of business for me today.
Coach, let's cut the chit chat. how much do you guys absolutely hate each other? I'm just kidding. No, you got a big game ahead of you. Like, what's the you said playoff seedings obviously, but what's the implication now going up against the team that you formerly coached? You said it's personal. I don't want you to get into the dirty weeds or anything, but how personal is it? How much of it would it be gratifying to beat the former team that you just coached with, a month or so ago?
Yeah.
What's all that going through your head as you travel back to Omaha, or actually, back to Omaha?
Cody, it's personal, man. I'm that, I expected to be the head football coach of Omaha for a very long time. There were a lot of shows, a lot of speeches, a lot of posts about tenure and longest tenured coach and all these things. And I used to make a joke in the office I was going to Belichick this thing and all that stuff. And then that came to a sudden end. You want me to pretend that that doesn't affect me? That's just not going to happen. I'm not going to do the politically correct thing. I'm going to be professional. As much as I'm upset that it ended, I'm also thankful for the opportunity. I was thankful when Ricky, pulled me out of Carolina, given the way that was ending, and gave me the opportunity to coach the team. I was thankful when I had the opportunity to coach guys like Lorenzo Brown and Tommy Armstrong and all the guys that helped me lead that team to a championship last season. There's a lot of great things that were done in Omaha before things ended the way they ended. So yeah, it's personal, dude. I don't coach these things half-assed. So I put up all, blood, sweat, and tears into Omaha to have it all suddenly, come to an end. So yes, it's very personal. Do I think Ricky made a good decision as it relates to me? Of course not. What am I? Yes, you did the right thing, letting me go. Do I think he made the right decision for him, his franchise, his team? Well, if he thinks that, then good. And it looks, so far it's produced results. So, it's personal as it relates to me, as it relates to the franchise and the team. It's his team, right? I don't have any say over the decisions he makes for his team. But I'm here in Colorado now. I'm going to do everything I can to give these guys the resources that they need to continue to build the franchise. And I've done everything they've asked me to do up until now to make sure that they win tonight, right? It's up to Coach Shaw and the boys to take care of business for me. Don't think I haven't asked for the favor of whipping Omaha's ass tonight as a personal favor to me. I have. Yes, it's personal.
That's fair. That's fair. But it's safe to say you guys will be cordial, right?
Yeah,
we're not going to see IFL Pushgate 2.0, right?
Yes, we I would hope that Ricky would say the same thing if he came on the show, if he's in the comments. I'm going to shake his hand. I'm going to give him a hug. I'm going to wish him the best. I hope he's healthy. I want to keep all of those players healthy. I don't want anybody getting hurt. But at the end, I want to take my post game meal with a smile and be happy and go back to Colorado with a win.
That's fair. See, that's what it's about in football. Leave the animosity on the field, act like professionals when the game's over or before the game.
I did want to ask you one question, because obviously, last night you announced the 2027 coaches show from live on location. So you seem to be like long-term committed to Colorado. Talk about that, kind of building that franchise up with Tony.
The Denver community there's just so much business opportunity and so many growth opportunities in that area. And they're yearning for something to get behind in the spring, right? So yes, I just signed a contract with Tony. My intention is to be here for at least a year. If I'm going to do anything, guys, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it all the way. I think everybody knows that. So I'm committed to building the business around the Spartans and getting the business community involved around the Spartans to support the franchise for many years to come. That's the plan.
It's personal.
And that's my head coach, and it's personal.
Hey, holy cow! That's the first and only time Coach Shaw has been seen on this show.
He's gonna be on a lot more shows. We're putting some things together to get him the exposure that he deserves. I mean, he's been here since the inception of the franchise. I think he deserves a lot of credit for where it is right now. But yes, Krish, I'm 100% behind the business. And look, I think you guys know me well enough to know from my business experience in Carolina and Omaha that I could build this thing and build this thing with these guys pretty quickly. So I'm excited to continue to get out in the community and engage them and get them supportive of the Colorado Spartans and what we're doing here.
I got to ask, though, about that receiving core. I mean, oh, my God. You have 4, 5, honestly, that could play on most teams in the country. I mean, what's it been like kind of seeing those guys at practice, and talk about, the work that goes behind their success?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's much nicer being on this side than having to worry about, who's going to cover them in the game. I mean, dude, they're ridiculous. Bizet is a monster. When you see him up close and you see him every day, it's like this has got to be a DB's nightmare. Steven Newball's legit, man. I'm thankful that he's here. But I'm a little shocked that he hasn't been stolen by an IFL team by now, or even higher than that. Um, he's just, and he's just such a good kid, man. I mean, he's a professional. They all are, guys. They do a good thing here. I will tell you, Tony's worked really hard to put them in high quality housing. They've got good benefits. I mean, there's a reason why these guys have stuck together. I think that speaks volumes of Tony and Coach Shaw. But this receiving crew is no joke, and I think that's why you see partially contributing to Javin's numbers, why he leads the league in touchdowns, and will continue to perform, including tonight.
Agreed. I wanted to ask you about something in particular. There's been something that about the Spartans in particular that has been on my mind quite a bit, and I haven't had the opportunity to ask anybody about the nitty gritty. Every time I talk to Tony, it's at the game and he's doing a million things and stuff like that. So how does the partnership with Teamsters 445 or 455 work for you guys? I mean,
that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. Shout out to Teamsters 455 and all the supporting unions. So the Spartans are the only unionized team that I'm aware of in all of indoor sports. We are members of that union. Our players are unionized. It allows them to get jobs while here and work during the day. We've coordinated a practice schedule that allows them to work full time if they so choose, and they receive union benefits. They actually have a union delegate that I've actually started a relationship with and communicate with pretty regularly. He advocates for them in terms of player safety. He advocates for them in terms of making sure we meet our pay obligations. He advocates for them in terms of making sure they have their additional benefits like food and housing and all that stuff. First thing that players do when they get here is they meet and communicate with that union delegate. They have to get signed up with the union, and the team covers their union dues as part of that relationship. And it's great. They're doing great things for our guys. I'm going to continue to grow that relationship and add the different unions to that relationship. So, of course, we have a partnership with the Teamsters and Local 455. They're our field naming rights partner and so forth. But we also have relationships with IBEW, the Plumbers Union. I'm actually in negotiations with the Carpenters Union right now. So the goal is for us to be a fully union supported team and bring all the different unions of Denver and the surrounding community into the Spartans family. And we think if we continue that path, then it will be an example of how to provide proper benefits for these players. Look, guys, we know these guys don't make a ton of money, so it's nice for us to provide an additional vehicle that gives them benefits beyond the week-to-week check.
Makes sense. And that's been something that's been on my mind because, I mean, there wasn't really a lot of an explanation behind it when the posts have come out. And it really kind of hit home for me because I used to be a part of that union a couple years back. Yeah. I mean, I am no longer a part of that union, but, they took great care of me when I was in them. And I thought that it was very interesting. We don't see that at this level. Like you said, you guys are the only unionized team in all of indoor football. It's regardless of leagues. So it was an interesting move. And I mean, honestly, I was intrigued by it because, like, as an owner, you're not necessarily looking to add restrictions or add oversight, unless you have nothing to hide. So, I mean, in my mind, that struck me as like a move of transparency from Tony. So I liked it a lot. And I'm glad that you were able to shed some light on that for us.
Well, and I think you have to be transparent, guys, if you truly want to grow the corporate partnership side of the business. Partners want to see transparency. They want to know the good, the bad, the ugly. If you're not transparent with partners, they're not going to renew. And the hardest thing, guys, is to rebuild year after year with new partners, guys. This is how you retain. You be honest, you be upfront, you tell the community where you are today, where you're going, and where you expect to be tomorrow. And I think Tony does a good job of that. I learned a lot of that from Ricky Burtz. So again, where yes, today is personal from a football side. The other personal part is I don't think I would be as good as I intend to be for Colorado if I didn't spend a year learning from Ricky on the business side and how to grow it. I mean, look, we have a coaches show in Colorado, guys. Where do you think I got that from, right? So I don't take for granted what I learned from Omaha from a business perspective. It's not my fault he made a mistake by letting me go as a football coach. So the only thing I can do is contribute to stomping his ass today. And then I'll give him a hug and thank him for all the business acumen I learned over the past year. Was that personal enough of an answer for you?
That was a good answer, I would say. Caleb asks, do you have an appetite to coach again?
Not today. I'm good right now. I heard Chris say it before I came on. I can impact this franchise a lot on the business side, and I'm cool with that. I will coach again. Let's not get it twisted, guys. I'm a two-time coach of the year. I've been to championship as an assistant and a head coach. I'm a winner in this game. I'll coach again. But look, sometimes the football gods decide to humble you and balance you and reposition you. And for whatever reason, the football gods decided that I needed that to happen about a month ago. I'm cool with that. But I will be back. I'm not going out the way I went out. But right now, I can make a really, really big impact on a city that's, this is a sports mecca, Denver. I mean, there's a lot of great things going on in Colorado, man. So if I look, and there's a trophy I haven't gotten from the NAL, which is Executive of the Year, right? So maybe I work on getting that and just add that to my trophy case while Coach Shaw and the boys win us a championship. I'm good. But Caleb, to answer your question, if you're asking just to ask, if you're asking as a fan, I will coach again when the time is right.
I was gonna ask about Coach Shaw too. That was my final question. It's like, he called offense and defense, and a lot of people think, he runs this program by himself. How good of a job does he do kind of managing the team?
The guys love him. I'm learning that really quickly that they just have a way that they do things here, and it works. It works for them. And I think you see that in franchises all over, guys. Franchises that are successful, you may not always understand their system, but it works for them. I didn't always understand Coach Shaw's system because I was always his opponent. And now being in it kind of with him and just watching how he does things and how much he loves his guys and he's got something going here. And he's got the respect of his players. He's got the respect of his owners. You know what? He's a really, really good coach, and they've got a situation here. Look, what I love about Tony and Coach Shaw and the players is a lot of loyalty here, right? They all been here since the beginning. And while yes, wins and losses and results are why we coach the game, I think Tony and Coach and the players here understand the bigger picture. And they've really embraced me and brought me into that. And I just think that's a testament to the environment that he's created here and will continue to foster here. So I'm just glad to be a part of it and help him out any way he needs me to. And he's been great about, letting me, contribute where I'm comfortable. He's been through coaching changes, in his life before too. So he knows, this wasn't easy. But he's been really good, and so he's got my loyalty just the way he's got the players. He's a good dude. He knows what he's doing.
Agreed. It's been a lot of fun to follow along with the Spartans the past couple of years since he's been there, and I like the way he coaches. He's a very fiery guy. You'd never have any doubts about his level of motivation or energy when he's on the field, for sure.
Who thought I would be the balanced one on a bench today? Like, that's crazy, right? So
I know, right?
He's gonna handle all the energy for us today. He's got this.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully now with you there, I can finally get him on here for an interview. One of these days, I do live in Colorado. I've been a huge supporter of the Spartans, Coach Shaw, in case you can hear me. So would love to get him on, but I understand he's also a very busy guy. So
He is. He's getting ready to do walkthrough real quick. But yeah, I mean, look, I hope, Sam, I'll see you at the game next Saturday on Military Appreciation Night. I'm gonna do shameless plug right now. Military Appreciation Night at the Denver Coliseum, May 30th. Final regular season home game. Gonna have playoff implications, I'm sure, in terms of whether we'll be playing at home, on the road, whatever it may be. So hopefully we can pack the place and make me look good to the new bosses. So
one last question, Coach. Who
yeah.
do you got winning NAL MVP right now? Who's the MVP?
He's going to say Javin Kilgo. Come on.
Of course, from a team loyalty, yes. I think Javin, if he continues on the path that he's on, will definitely be up there. Look, I even with the way the game ended last week, Lorenzo Brown has changed Sioux City this year. They're a different team than they've been in previous years. So, I'm good enough to give props when it's due, especially, look, I know people don't always like the way things ended last season for Lorenzo in Omaha. To see him come back, I guess, from, quote unquote adversity, had a little bit of shoulder injury, and lead Sioux City and make the offense, I think, a little bit more dynamic than it's been in past years. He's got to be up there for an MVP candidate. And then look, yeah, I don't know why we're not talking about Josh Hollins anymore, because he had a couple bad games, which really weren't bad games. He's leading an expansion team and right up there in top three. So I think it's a 3-man race: Javin, Josh, and Lorenzo.
That's a fair assessment. And honestly, if I had to pick a favorite right now, I think it's Hollins for me, just based on overall body of work. He's had a really, really good season, and there's a reason why he is currently leading the league in many passing categories. For sure. But appreciate you coming on, Coach. Didn't anticipate this, but definitely looking forward to hopefully meeting you in person finally next week. So that'll be a lot of fun. We're seeing about possibly having 3 people out there at the game.
We'd love to have you. Message me and we'll get all the arrangements we need to. I'd love to have you guys. Thank you for always having me on. And damn right, it's personal. It's game time. Let's fucking go.
All right. Have a great one, Coach. We'll catch you later.
See you, boys.
Later. Awesome. So again, Coach Negron, that's the bright side about this show. Sometimes you get some surprise guests like that and get a little bit of some hot comments there in the chat for a minute there. But
I can't believe you didn't say Sutton for MVP. I feel like I think he should get a vote, honestly.
Will he give votes? Yes. Will he win? I'm a realist, so probably not.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the quarterback award, man. It's a quarterback game. It doesn't matter if we're playing indoor rules, arena rules. It doesn't matter. It's a quarterback game, especially when you have a dual threat guy like Josh Hollins there at the top of the leaderboard. I think that you look at his overall impact on that team, and I think between the passing game and the run game, you can't really make an argument that Sutton's as valuable completely. Like if you look strictly at the run game, obviously it's a hell of a lot more valuable than Hollins. And then, it's just one of those tough things where, like I said, it's a quarterback award. Will he win Offensive Player of the Year? Maybe. Maybe it goes to Woodley or D-Wash, but I think he has a lot better chance at OPOY than MVP.
I think if Bissett hits 20 and 10, you have to give him Offensive Player of the Year. If you get 20 touchdowns in 10 games as a receiver, like that has to be an automatic for me.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, right? He's at 14 now going into tonight's game. 2 more games left. He's obviously averaging just under 2 touchdowns per game. So if he goes off the next 2 games, he could definitely hit near 20 touchdowns, which would be a hell of a feat in 10 games, like you said. So we're going to stick around for a little bit. I do have some things to say before we get off of here. But before we get into that, there was one big transaction, or actually really 2 big transactions by Salina this week that I think we wanted to spend a little bit of time on. And the one that really kind of put me on notice was the fact that Salina brought in Tyree Adams. For those of you who have been following the Liberty for a few years, you know exactly who Tyree Adams is. He played for him in 21 and 22, back when they were in the CIF, helped them go to 2 different championships at that point. They won in 2021. And then midway through 2022, he was signed by the Ottawa Red Blacks in the CFL, where he has remained for 3 seasons up until this past season when he was released in final cuts. And now he has returned to Salina, the only other place he's played other than Ottawa in his professional career. So very excited about that move. But they also added Henry Kellogg, which is another big move. So I wanted to go around the horn real quick, ask you guys just your real quick opinions on those 2 moves. And then we'll talk real briefly on the championship sponsor, and then we will go ahead and move on. So let's go to Krish first on this one. What are your thoughts on those moves by Salina?
I mean, I look at it like this, right? Tyree's a CFL quarterback. He was in the CFL for many years. Getting someone with that experience is important, especially the championship run. I thought Evan Lewandowski played pretty good for them. He did turn over the ball 8 times. Coach O hates when quarterbacks turn over the ball. So they released him, and I think they did a good job releasing him. I know most teams would have kept him, but I don't think they wanted to keep 2 guys at this point. They're all in on Tyree, and I think Tyree can help them get to where they want to get to. I mean, Henry Kellogg, man, Coach O went to ownership and said, spend up. I'm trying to win a championship. So they paid money and they got him to come in. I know how much he was making at Beaumont. I know how much he was making at Salina the year before. They paid up for that one. But it's still amazing. I mean, he led the AF1 in sacks, 2 years ago, AFL in sacks. Like, he's a really good player. He's a game changer. Yeah, that's a big move for them on that defensive line. Especially with losing Kyle Jarvis on the defensive line, they needed to make a move to make that unit, function better. So,
but you're right, Derek. I had it backwards. They won in 22, correct? And lost in 21. That's my fault. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me. I always have those 2 backwards. In fact, I think I said that backwards on Peach State's show last night, actually, now that I'm thinking about that.
I have a lot of respect for Derek. He's a big Omaha Beef fan and supporter, and he was even a player at one point too. So, just seeing someone support, the franchise and what he does, it's good.
Crazy. Looking back at the CIF standings right now, and for 21, 22, and 23, I always forget Salina and Omaha played each other 3 years in a row in the championship. But just crazy runs of success for both of those.
It was 2-1, right? 2-1.
Yeah, it was Omaha in 21 and 23, and then Salina won 22. So
they cheated.
Real quick before we transition on, the NAL has named T-Fiber as the official championship sponsor for the big game this year. So that's awesome. I mean, obviously T-Mobile fiber internet, that's a huge sponsor. So very excited about that for the league. Not sure what the financials looks like on a deal like that, but I can imagine it's beneficial for the National Arena League. So always love to see that. But before we move on, I know Krish is going to hound me if I try to leave the NAL section without letting you guys do picks. So with that being said, we already kind of gave our picks for the Omaha, Colorado game. So I'm going to go to everybody and just run down the games. So I'll pull up the games for you here so you have them right on the screen. But basically the first game up today is Louisiana at Southwest Kansas. And there you go. So Krish, just go ahead and give us your picks for all 3 games. I would say just give picks. No need for a breakdown at this point since we've been live so long.
Yeah, no problem. So Louisiana, their bus broke down on the way to Dodge City. They were stranded for 4 hours. They just, it's on par with what their franchise has been all year. They're breaking down. So unfortunately, I feel bad for those players. Jordan Barton has been awfully quiet the last couple of weeks. But yeah, give me Southwest. Coach Thomas, whatever you do, you got to be careful, man. You got to, man. You could not get your players hurt. Like, I know you want to go 10-0, but bro, you have the number 1 seed clinched. Like, be very careful. I want him to get Jelani Baker more targets. This is a day where Jelani Baker can have a game. I want to see Mason Pierce get more targets. I want to conserve D-Wash. You do not want D-Wash getting hurt. So be careful with that. But give me Southwest by like 30, probably. Colorado, give me Colorado 45-40. And then Amarillo and Far Phantoms, I'm not even going to comment on that one. That's dog shit, so I'm not watching that. Okay.
That's a little rude.
It's a little overreaction there.
Salina, Sioux City. Ooh, that's hard, man. I want to say Sioux City with Tyree coming back. I'm going to take Salina at home. Coach O wants to win today. Give me Salina.
Yeah, that sounds right. TJ?
I'm going to take Southwest Kansas at home, Omaha Beef. I am going to take the Far Phantoms because Amarillo is a dumpster fire. And then probably the game of the week is I'm going to take a little bit of a flyer, and I'm going to say Sioux City.
Okay. Cody?
What jersey am I wearing, Sam? Come on now. Southwest Kansas by $1 billion. You're just going to knock the socks off of them, man. Especially if Louisiana's bus is going to break down. Imagine if it breaks down after a loss on the way home. That's going to suck.
That would be rough.
Omaha and Colorado. Give me Omaha. We talked about that because it's personal. We've got beef in the literary sense of the team. But I'm taking Omaha. They're the home team. This is a revenge thing for Coach Negron, and I want to see him come out and play Omaha tough. I just think there's going to be a mistake by Colorado that Omaha capitalizes on, or it's a last-second touchdown. I mentioned that earlier. Far versus Amarillo, just Amarillo, unless something crazy happens. We've seen stupid stuff happen before, so whatever. Yeah. And then finally, Sioux City and Salina. We just talked about the signings by Salina. They are trying to get after it. It's not going to shock me if they win at home. This is huge, huge, huge for playoff seeding because I think both these teams are sitting at 3-4 or 4-5. I think 3-4 in the standings. Winner of this one solidifies kind of that third seed, and I think ties with Pueblo for number 2. And depending on how the tiebreakers and everything work, there's still an opportunity for both of these teams, Sioux City, Salina, and if you include Pueblo, one of those teams has the opportunity to get that 2 seed. So that is going to be a very, very spicy meatball. Give me Salina at home.
All right. So as far as these games go, I mean, it's going to be tough for Colorado to win in Omaha. Obviously, Omaha's got probably some of the most significant home field advantage in this league. I'm actually going to go with Southwest Kansas, of course. I mean, I don't see a situation where Louisiana goes in there and backs up Keith Carter's claim that they will be winning in Southwest Kansas.
Why do you say that, man? Like, come on, bro. Why?
It's because he's the owner, and he wants his team to go in there confident. He wants people to know that he loves his team, and to me, it didn't even bother me really. Like to me, it just struck me as, what an owner should do. You should believe in your team, even if you know the odds are stacked against you. You know what I mean? You should do whatever you can to try and pump up your team before a big game.
Yeah. I mean, I did talk a lot of trash this past week, so I can't say anything.
That's fair. I'm picking Amarillo. I think TJ's claim that they're a dumpster fire is a little blasphemous at this point. They've showed a little momentum here at the end, although that hasn't translated to wins yet. I think this will get them on the right path. Today they will ultimately get a win. Sorry, Daniel, if you're watching, I apologize, man. I know I normally pick Far, but this is one game I'm picking on Amarillo, and then I have to go with Salina at home against Sioux City, especially after the loss last week. I think that loss is going to have them a little bit off their game in Sioux City, knowing that they lost a really good opportunity at potentially closing out the season with the first seed. But Salina also brings in, a couple big-time players that are going to come in and be able to contribute immediately. I know it's been a little time since Tyree's been in that offense, but I can't imagine it's changed much with Coach O being the primary play caller, off and on for various seasons. So I'm excited to see that game. I think it's going to be the game of the week for the NAL. And I think it's going to be a very, very, very fun game to watch tonight. So I think that's one that I'm going to pay real close attention to tonight. So, Cody, let me get that out of your way real quick. Megan says, agreed, you set the tone as a coach. So I wanted to circle back to some stuff that was said this morning early on in the show. There were some claims made about some stuff going on in the AAL that may not have been entirely informed correctly. So Alex Coleman came on here and said things from what he has been told or his perspective on the events that have happened. I have been informed by multiple league sources since that conversation that his information is not entirely accurate, and that there have been multiple options presented for every team to make up these games in terms of Wheeling, missing the home games, whether that be a weekday date for New Jersey to travel out to Wheeling and still play in Wheeling, or for Wheeling to travel to New Jersey to play them on a weekend. However, it sounds like there are some, still some conversations that need to be had. Apparently they were, on a league call for multiple hours already discussing the situation over the past couple of days. And while they have not yet come to a conclusion, it sounds like all ownership groups are working to try and find an amicable solution for everybody involved that does not include a forfeit victory for anybody. That's the main point that I want to drive home here. Nobody's trying to take home a forfeit victory unless absolutely necessary. And I don't believe there is going to be a scenario where that is necessary. I could even see the league going as far as possibly stretching out the regular season if that's what they need to do in order to get those games made up and, have the proper standings for a legitimate playoff situation in 2026. So I wanted to make sure we got the right stuff said on camera while it was being said in the chat, and I didn't address that at the time. I wanted to make sure that we said that ahead or on camera where you can all hear it and you didn't have to read the comments while we were going live. So with that being said, I think there's still a lot to be figured out behind the scenes. Again, we were talking to a player who is probably not privy to all the conversations that go on in owners' meetings, which typically only include the absolute necessary members from every organization. Otherwise, it obviously would get a lot hectic if you had the entire roster of players in with the owners' meetings. So with that being said, I think it's just honestly some confusion on everybody's front when it comes to that. Some people maybe don't understand exactly what's going on because they haven't been given all the information, or they're only giving a part of the information. And maybe, different perspectives see it different ways. So with that being said, I just wanted to throw that out there that as of right now, no forfeits have been levied. And to my knowledge, everybody in the league is doing everything in their power to prevent any such forfeits. So with that being said, we can, move on with the proper information at hand. Okay. Like I said in the lead up, Wheeling has been dealing with some very difficult situations involving the Wheeling Nailers and their need for the venue. As Alex mentioned, they take priority right now. They've been around longer, many, many years longer than the Miners. So it's just a unique situation that Wheeling Miners have never dealt with before that is causing a little bit of chaos with the schedule. However, these are all veterans in this league, whether it's AJ or, Roger in the Columbus Lions, or Chris Duffy in the Wheeling Miners, or Eddie Strong in the Mississippi Wolfpack. All of them have been in the game for years. They definitely will find a solution for these games that makes sense for the league and all of their teams. So with that on the table, anything any of you guys want to say before we close up shop for the day?
I do want to share something kind of exciting. I was told recently, this is my big news, in terms of the NAL, that from confidential sources, there are big things in the works for the NAL, and the good news for the league will be coming out within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I was told what the information is, but I was told to keep it secret. So, but it's definitely going to be good news, a good look for the NAL, and fans keep an eye out over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
TJ, buddy, I'm going to have to give you a journalism 101. You never tell people you have the information because now your inbox is going to blow up, buddy. Everybody's going to be asking you.
I already thought about that. I'm charging an entrance fee.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind. I stand corrected.
I thought
I need to learn
to
from you.
be your muscles.
Well, that could stop it. That's why he showed up with a.
It looks like muscles on camera, man. But trust me, it's a dad bod. Don't let it fool you.
Even better.
All right.
No, man, great show today. I appreciate everyone watching, as always. I feel like we're really building this to where we want to build it to. And, as far as my team, will bounce back tomorrow and just excited for, the future. I feel like we have a bright future ahead. As long as Jawad is leading us, we're good, man.
D-Wash tuning in says 9-0 hopefully today, Krish. This old man's still getting down. I just want you to like me. Haha, be a fan. I'll come play for your Pirates. Hey now. Don't be saying that. You are very predisposed till the end of June, my friend.
One of your best DBs started following us on Instagram, but we don't even need to talk about that.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
$20 to stay in Southwest Kansas.
$20. There you go.
I
got 5 on it. $25. You stay on long enough, we might get some more donations here.
700 yards, and then Coach Thomas needs to sit him because he needs to be healthy for the playoffs. But
I know D-Wash is not your typical mid-30-year-old player, right? He is obviously playing out of his mind right now. But
he's gonna sign next week. You think he'll sign someone just for that last game or no?
Who? What?
You won't sign someone local just to play the last game of the season?
I mean, you have to make a corresponding transaction. Why would you want to release somebody when you've had that much success?
You can do what Pueblo does: release, cheat, and house, and then sign them in next week.
Yeah, that's all for this week's show.
Exactly. Ding, ding, ding. 3 hours. I got a guess, Brian says. It was a great show today. Thank you. And D-Wash says, ha, ha, ha. So, yeah. I mean, I personally think, you have to be smart down the stretch. You've already sewn up the first seed. There's no reason to get important players hurt, especially when you need them for the playoffs. So I could definitely see a situation where some guys that are depth players primarily would get some more snaps. Now, we'll see. I'm not Coach Thomas. I don't make those decisions, so we'll see what he decides. For all we know, he decides he wants to score 77 points tonight and outdo the Vegas Nighthawks a couple days ago, and we'll see. We'll see. But on that note, thank you for everybody who tuned in this morning. I know this show got a little spicy. I don't think any of us saw that coming this morning, but hopefully we can all leave as friends, because at the end of the day, we're all here to support indoor and arena football, and that's really what matters at the end of the day, right? It's not easy to own these teams. It's not easy to be a coach. It's not easy to be a player. So, I hopefully at the end of the day, as fans, we can all kind of group together and understand we're all in this together. We're all trying to support the teams, whether we're a Pirates fan, a Storm fan, a Beef fan, whatever it may be. Let's all just keep supporting these teams. Remember, all of these players, coaches, owners make a ton of sacrifices for us all to have a ton of entertainment each week. So enjoy the games today, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Hi, everyone. This is TJ from Shady Sports Network. I am excited and proud to be the first one to announce that we as a network are introducing a digital magazine, official one called Shady Sports Magazine. As many of you know, the bread and butter of our network is covering arena and indoor football, and that's exactly what this magazine is going to be about. It is going to be the first ever arena and indoor football central magazine, all the leagues included. You're going to also have a bunch of articles in there about past teams, going down memory lane, It's just going to be a one-stop shop for the already diehard fan. It's going to be an easy spot to get all of your info, no matter which league or however many of the leagues you may watch. And for the new fan or the casual fan, it may help you turn into a diehard fan now, because you're going to be able to get all the info super quick and easy, sent directly into your email. We will announce in the upcoming weeks when the inaugural issue is going to be released. And believe me, we will definitely keep you updated on our shows and network as a whole on how to sign up for that list to get it. Email for free every month. Thank you to the fans, and thank you for everyone watching. As always, like, follow, share, subscribe, and most important, enjoy the show and keep watching. Thank you, and see you guys later.